Morning glory, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. Rabbit, December 2020. The year we can't get over fast enough, but we're going to slow down to give thanks for family and friends in this season of Christmas and giving. It's Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday is a tradition. It follows Cyber Monday, which was huge yesterday. Black Friday was a very big disappointment on Friday. About half the ordinary shopping went on at the brick and mortar retails as COVID spikes around the country. Gosh, I started talking about COVID a year ago in December, and I talked about it every day in January. I had no idea it could get to this. I thought we'd stop it before this, but I did get to the bell early, and it's just going to keep people home. But Cyber Monday was huge, and Cyber Monday has always been followed by Giving Tuesday. And so I want to begin the show by asking you from the bottom of my heart, please be as generous as you can to Angel Tree. All Americans unite to support not-for-profits, and many of you have favorite charities. I do. Fetching Mrs. Hewitt does. Of course, we support our churches, but that's not a Giving Tuesday deal. I say you get 5 fingers. One to remind you to give to your church, one to give to a parachurch organization like Young Life or Salvation Army. Salvation Army itself a church, but it does a lot of giving to people who are not in their denomination. They take care of the lost and the least. You give to one United States military charity, and I always support the Semper Fi in America's Fund, as you know. Then you give to an educational institution that has helped you out. I try and support John F. Kennedy High School in Warren, Ohio, and then you give to one that is helping other people out. And, you know, I think Hillsdale College is great. But on Giving Tuesday, maybe you go outside of the box, and I want you to think about Angel Tree, because they are at the very top of HughHewitt.com. I sponsor them this year. They sponsor me this year. They said, please let us come on and be your charity. I said, absolutely. I'd love you to. Angel Tree is Ministry of Prison Fellowship. There are 2.7 million children in the United States. Think about that number, 2.7 million, who have a mom or dad or both parents in jail or prison this Christmas. And Angel Tree does 3 things. They buy gifts for those children. They get a note from mom or dad to those children and attach it to the gifts, and they stick a Bible in with the gifts and the note. And they do that, and then the 4th thing they do is establish a relationship with the child so that they can minister to them through the years that they are without mom or dad and try and break the cycle. I watched Hillbilly Elegy last night with the Fetching Mrs. Hewitt. It's not in theater. I mean, it's in theater, but we watched it on Netflix. And I love the book, and I think they shorted the Marine Corps in the book, in the movie, but there are a couple of great performances. Glenn Close is just amazing. Amy Adams is great, but J.D. Vance's story is heart-touching, and he got out of the cycle because of his brass-knuckled, hard-talking Kentucky grandmother, but so many kids don't, and he almost ended up in jail himself. Instead, he ended up at Yale Law School, and I thought a prison fellowship and Angel Tree, and you can be that person. You can just go click on the Angel Tree banner at the top of HughHewitt.com, or you can call 888-206-2764. 888-206-2764. Make your Giving Tuesday. Well, do it the first thing you do before you even finish your coffee. 888-206-2764. Or go to HughHewitt.com. I prefer when you go online. That way you don't make a mistake. They don't get the number wrong over the phone. The call centers are great. You know, I love call centers. And the people who work there are wonderful people with prison fellowship on their heart. But if you do it yourself online, it works. That's why I prefer online people. Listen, the news out of California is just desperate. I spent a half hour talking to Arnold yesterday for an interview that we will air on Thursday, portions on this show, and then all of it for the Nixon Foundation. It's the 50th anniversary of the founding of the EPA by Richard Nixon. And Arnold was Governor Schwarzenegger has always been a great guest, made me sommelier of California long ago, and controversial figure in his tenure as governor, but a wonderful interview. We had a great time chatting. He wants Mary Nichols to be the EPA director under President-elect Biden. And we'll air that. And we talked at the end about Governor Newsom, because I think he's doing as best he can. And Arnold said he had that French Laundry fiasco, and he's got to get out there and apologize 20 times for it. And he's right about that. That was a fiasco. Like Nancy Pelosi at the hairdresser, you can't, and like the Denver mayor, you can't ask people to do A and then do not A. But you can apologize and then focus people. The numbers in California are just extraordinary. And I know the models have been off. That doesn't mean they'll always be off. And the models in California suggest ICU capacity will max out in the Central Valley and hospital capacity in other places. And that people have just, but I don't agree with the messaging. The messaging is we may have to force you to stay home. I think the messaging should be, could you please stay home for 4 more weeks? The vaccine is coming, and the vaccine will be available to the frontline workers in 4 weeks. So if you just make this Christmas an at-home Christmas, if you just make this Christmas as, you know, I've got friends and family who are in quarantine right now, absolute lockdown quarantine, because they're military. And when they move around to deploy, they got to go into a 2-week quarantine in a hotel room, right? They don't leave the hotel room for 2 weeks when they get to their deployment country. And I know that. They're in it right now. And I'm telling you, if they can do that for 2 weeks, you can live at home for 4 until the frontline workers get the vaccine, which is rolling out thanks to Operation Warp Speed, a modern miracle, an achievement unrivaled in science and logistics in the history of mankind. Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and another one coming. And so just 4 weeks of patience, friend. Now, I'd like to hear from the military. I always love the first hour, 1-800-520-1234. Uniformed military. I know you're going to work early. You're always my early callers. President-elect Biden is not named his Secretary of Defense yet. I am surprised by that. I thought it was a mortal lock, as they say in the musical, that Michelle Flournoy, who founded the Center for New American Security, excuse me, she's been the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Strategy under President Clinton. She was the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy under Barack Obama. She knows the building. She is a serious defense-nick. And would be a steady hand at the Pentagon. She was number 2 to Bob Gates, who's the best Secretary of Defense. I love Rummy, but I think in terms of bipartisan support, Bob Gates would get the most votes for best SecDef in modern times, and she was his understudy. And so I expected her to be nominated on day 1, and the progressive wing doesn't like her. Code Pink doesn't like her, which I find hard to believe that President-elect Biden would care much about Code Pink, but maybe the Bernie Sanders folks don't like her. Look, I would like to know what the uniforms would like. It's been a roiling 4 years at defense with General Mattis, followed by the acting, followed by Mark Esper, followed by the new acting. So they've had 4 secretaries of defense, maybe 5. I may have missed someone in there, in 4 years. And I think Michelle Flournoy would come and would stay for 4 years. And as I said on Twitter last night, why make easy ones hard, Mr. President-elect? This one, it's like Ron Klain for Chief of Staff. It's just an easy one. But I would love to hear what the uniforms think. And I have ways of figuring out if they really are. I won't identify who you are. I would just love to hear what the uniforms think. And retired or active duty. Fine by me. Michelle Flournoy is married to a retired Navy captain, by the way, which, by the way, makes a big difference. Makes an enormous difference. If you're not yourself a veteran, to have lived the military life in large or small ways is to have some idea and some awareness of the families of everyone who's serving. And that, to me, is another big additional, the policy, yes, the experience. She's 60 years old. She's the perfect age, or 59. She is the I don't want to make someone 60 when they're not 60. It's the perfect mix. So 1-800-520-1234. You don't have to comment on former Undersecretary Flournoy. I'd just like to know what you'd like in a Secretary of Defense under President-elect Biden. 1-800-520-1234. Update from Georgia as well. Raphael Warnock said another crazy thing. Honest to goodness, Georgia, I don't know how any one of you can vote for this guy. I'll be right back, America. Stay tuned.
Portions of the Hugh Hewitt Show are brought to you in part by Birch Gold Group.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. Supreme Court Judge Samuel Alito recently made a startling point. Religious liberty is in danger of becoming a second-class right. Alito said as much to the Federalist Society.
Just as the COVID restrictions have highlighted the movement toward rule by experts, litigation about those restrictions has pointed up emerging trends in the assessment of individual rights. This is especially evident with respect to religious liberty. It pains me to say this, but in certain quarters, religious liberty is fast becoming a disfavored right.
Alito argued that not only religious liberty, but free speech is imperiled.
Support for freedom of speech is also in danger, and COVID rules have restricted speech in unprecedented ways.
This is a timely and prescient warning. Religious liberty is the very foundation of American freedom, and free speech is part of what makes America great. We cannot sit passively by as our cherished freedoms are whittled away. We must pay attention and take action where we can. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Restrictions starting today. Gyms, movie theaters, churches can no longer meet indoors. As a result of the emergency orders, 41 of California's 58 counties are now in what's called purple tier status, and that is Newsom's strictest category. He's also considering instituting a statewide curfew. Meanwhile, the governor attended a dinner party at an upscale French restaurant and had more than the 10 people that he is saying that you can only have when you are in some sort of social gathering. And he's put out a statement saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it. We're all gonna do better."
And as soon as I sat down at the larger table, I realized it was a little larger group than I had anticipated.
And he started counting them: 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe he didn't realize that he had exceeded the number. First, he sends his children to in-person private school while attacking school choice and keeping public schools closed throughout California. Now he attends a private gathering while telling Californians to do otherwise.
Got to own that. And so I want to apologize to you because I need to preach and practice, not just preach.
Sacramento Bee editorial board, quote, "If Newsom can't get his head into the game, perhaps he should make the governor thing a one-term affair and leave the job open for someone with a desire to lead," end of quote. You know, he told you not to have a gathering of more than 10 people. He exceeded that, but spiritually he didn't exceed it. He may have exceeded it physically.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Today's a big day. Today is the day that Pfizer will be formally requesting emergency use authorization for their vaccine against coronavirus. The president initiated and the administration implemented Operation Warp Speed, which is leading to the reveal that within weeks, it appears, millions and millions of Americans will start getting the vaccination against COVID-19. Of course, it's coming at a time that is urgently needed. In the vice president's words yesterday, coronavirus is surging through the nation. The U.S. death toll that has been attributed to coronavirus is over 252,000 Americans. 2,000 reported yesterday. Hospitalizations, according to the mainstream media, and I always know we have to look at that with a little bit of a wary eye, but in their words, hospitalizations across America have exploded. 80,000 Americans are now in the hospital getting inpatient treatment. Yesterday, the governor of California imposed a month Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. I'm not sure where it's snowing today. It rained a lot in the Beltway yesterday. Let me check on markets, brought to you by Birch Gold. They are the people that you turn to when you want to convert a portion of your IRA or your savings into physical precious metals, or you just want to buy gold. And a lot of you buy gold for your son or daughter, your grandson, granddaughter at this time of the year. It's the best gift. If you can afford an ounce of gold, please do go to Birch Gold. You can get there by hughgold.com. Or text my name, Hugh, to 474747. They're right on the spot. They get right back to you. The important thing is, as we head into a volatile season in the markets, gold this morning is really quite the bargain. I'm trying to pull it up exactly. So it's down to $17.96, up 1% from yesterday, but still way down. I bought it at $2,000 this year. I always buy it when it gets up high, because I'm always afraid that's the inflation marker, and I don't worry about it because I don't sell it. I just buy it and put it away, and that's what gold is for. It's an anchor for your savings. It's a great gift for your kids and your grandchildren. Birch Gold, you just text my name, Hugh, to 474747. The 10-year Treasury is at 0.84%. It's stable. Oil this morning is at 45.23. It's just down a quarter point. Abroad, England is up almost 2%. Germany up 1%. They see the vaccine coming. Yesterday, the Dow was down 271. The Nasdaq was off 7, and the S&P was down 16. But they're expecting a great day on the market today, because Cyber Monday was big yesterday. Don't forget, Giving Tuesday is today. But it's always good to give yourself a gift. Give yourself the gift of gold. HughGold.com. Bob in Tampa, Florida, 1-800-520-1234. Talking to the uniforms today, people who serve in the military, retired, or active duty. Good morning, Bob.
Super fly, you guys.
Hey, thank you, Marines.
First off, let me say, God bless Donald Trump, President of the United States, number 45.
Yes, indeed.
For doing what he said and saying what he did, and not getting us tangled up in more of these crazy foreign manure holes, and bringing the troops home where they need to be so that they can protect the homeland and not worry about building other countries' economies and empires up. We got enough problems along our borders. And
so, Bob, but I'm short on time. I'm short on time, so I need you to focus. Who would you like to see as SecDef? What kind of qualities?
I want to see somebody that's going to bring the rest of our troops home to defend the homeland and quit wasting our treasure and our blood on these foreign manure pits.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Thank you for your service. Very adamant on that. We're not going to bring them home from Korea or Germany, and we're not going to bring them home from Bahrain, and we're not going to bring them home from Qatar, and we're not going to bring them home from the variety of bases that we've got in England and in NATO. We can reduce footprints. I think we actually have to expand footprints in places like Poland, but that's not what I'm really looking for. I'm looking for the qualities you want in the chain of command. Michelle Flournoy would be the first woman in a senior position in the chain of command. Now, the chain of command reaches down via various webs to every private, to every sailor and swabby and junior member of the military, but it starts with the president. It does not go through the vice president. It goes to the Secretary of Defense. It doesn't go to the chairman of Joint Chiefs. It goes from the Secretary of Defense to the 5 combatant commanders. And from there, it goes down to the 5 combatant commands. I think it's 5. Maybe it went up to 6. And that is where it goes. And so what I'm asking people is, what do you want in a Secretary of Defense? If you've served under a bunch of them, you should have an opinion. I'm going to ask Admiral Stavridis about this a little bit later, what they are looking for. But in the interim, I see Ben is screening calls, 1-800-520-1234. I'll come back and ask you. I think Michelle Flournoy would be great. I am surprised that President-elect Biden has not named her yet. She was tipped for the job. I'd like them to get going, get the assistant secretaries lined up, the service secretaries lined up. But we'll be back for more phone calls. Don't forget Angel Tree. It's Giving Tuesday, the day everyone ought to reach into their wallet and give something away. And I think Angel Tree is a great place to do it. You can simply go to my website. At the very top of it, you will find Angel Tree, and it will get there. It will get there. Angel Tree banner at the top of HughHewitt.com. Serve the children who have no mom or dad at home because they're in jail. Angel Tree at HughHewitt.com. Come right back to the program.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
Jennifer in Tustin, California. Hi.
Hi, Dennis. I love the fun on your show. More importantly, the clarity.
Yes. Well, if you like fun and clarity, I'm your man.
Excellent.
I'm your other man. You may be married or have friends.
Yes.
So I fully.
I am. I have a wonderful man.
Good. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm your other man.
Great.
Right.
I've heard you say. My question is, I've heard you say several times of late on the show that you would not take the COVID vaccine, and I feel the same way myself. But I'm wondering, what will I do if the COVID vaccine is mandatory, in the same way that child vaccines are mandatory in many states? Have you thought about that?
I have thought about it. It's a real dilemma.
Okay.
If they don't allow you to go on an airplane without proof of a vaccine, I would have to weigh not being able to travel and give speeches and do my cruises I cannot live a life without travel. Yes, exactly. It's
right.
See, I want everybody listening who doesn't know, I've taken every vaccine offered, and my kids have taken all of them. I never had any interest in vaccines. I just took them. But I don't trust the medical establishment any longer. They, like the New York Times, they have lost me.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
A woman who treats developmentally disabled patients. She said, I haven't been able to see my patients in person since March because of the virus. But right after the election, one of my clients said that he voted for Biden but didn't want to. He told me that he said Biden won because Biden would make his Social Security payments go down. He was sad that Biden won. I asked him why he voted for Biden, if he was worried about that, and he said that one of the helpers just came in and filled out his ballot for Biden for him. Bombshell voter fraud revelation in Wisconsin. To the best of our knowledge or the intelligence we have provided, no FBI investigation, no DOJ investigation. This is News Talks 1130.iheart.com. Disability Service Coordinator blows whistle on vote fraud in group homes called granny farming. We have long been talking about that here, which would correlate with the 1,774% increase that we saw for people over the age of 90 registering during a pandemic in battleground states. So Rudy Giuliani laid out 9 key points. The first of which was observers were allegedly prevented from watching mail-in ballots from being open. This is the easiest point to prove of all the different allegations out there, and it's unconstitutional. Giuliani said that many mail-in ballots were opened without observers being able to check that they were properly signed, a key protection against fraud. Those votes, he said, were, quote, null and void, especially where the envelopes had been discarded, making recounts useless.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. Supreme Court Judge Samuel Alito recently made a startling point. Religious liberty is in danger of becoming a second-class right. Alito said as much to the Federalist Society.
Just as the COVID restrictions have highlighted the movement toward rule by experts, litigation about those restrictions has pointed up emerging trends in the assessment of individual rights. This is especially evident with respect to religious liberty. It pains me to say this, but in certain quarters, religious liberty is fast becoming a disfavored right.
Alito argued that not only religious liberty, but free speech is imperiled.
Support for freedom of speech is also in danger, and COVID rules have restricted speech in unprecedented ways.
This is a timely and prescient warning. Religious liberty is the very foundation of American freedom, and free speech is part of what makes America great. We cannot sit passively by as our cherished freedoms are whittled away. We must pay attention and take action where we can. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Appreciate it. Chris is in San Antonio, Texas. Chris, you're on The Larry Elder Show.
Oh, wow. What an honor to speak with the great Eldersky. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Chris.
I guess my question is, can you imagine if this goes to the
"25 days till Christmas, America." Welcome back. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Did you hear my recording there? That's never mind. I'll tell you about that another time. It's Giving Tuesday. Dig deep for, remember, you got 5 fingers. One for your church, one for a parachurch, one for a military charity that takes care of the men and women in uniform or their families. I prefer the Semper Fi America's Fund, which is just a terrific charity. Look up Semper Fi Fund. And I also believe in the wonderful efficacy of saving money during the year and giving it now to a school that has helped you, and then to a school that is helping others. And that's what you got 5 fingers for. But please, on those 5 fingers, make room for Angel Tree. It's at the top of HughHewitt.com. And if you are not the online kind of person, you want to call in a gift, you can call 888-206-2764. 888-206-2764. Do it this morning before you leave for work. It's Giving Tuesday. Arrive at work and tell everyone, hey, it's Giving Tuesday. Go to HughHewitt.com and give to Angel Tree. Those kids deserve a Christmas tree. 2. Back to the phones. William in Westchester, New York. Good morning, William.
Good morning, Hugh. My expertise, such it is, 30 years active to drilling reserve to back active again, and that ended 25 years ago. Knew nothing about Michelle Ford until looking her up on Wikipedia. It seems that she agitated for the Libya intervention in 2011 or so, and Joe Biden was against, so I don't know how the military would go for her.
Well, I think I'll ask Admiral Stavridis. I don't know that the military objected, and agitated is kind of a loaded word, isn't it, William? She advocated for it, but he was against it. Wouldn't you want a cabinet full of diverse views?
Could be, but Libya was what we call in military a Charlie Foxtrot, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Yes, it was, and it remains that way. But I do believe you still want people in the cabinet who can present to you all sorts of options, and believe me, there are a lot of bad progressives out there that we do not want in that job. I want someone who knows the building, someone who trusts the uniforms. Which branch were you in, William?
First Marine Corps, then the Navy.
Well, thanks for both of those. You don't often hear that switch.
Well, what happened in my case, the Marine Corps tried to make an officer out of me, and in their wisdom, they realized I'd probably get a platoon killed in Vietnam. Later found out I have ADHD. So it was a good move by the Marine Corps, and the Navy pulled me in.
Well, thank you for 30 years of service. I appreciate that, friend. Merry Christmas. Robert in Grand Junction, Colorado, 1-800-520-1234. What are you looking for in a SecDef, Robert? And which branch were you in?
Yes, sir. Good morning. I was in the Army Reserve for 12 years. I was a legal clerk.
Oh.
But I didn't do much legal clerking because they're in kind of a different system in the reserves. If I was on active duty, I'd be doing a lot of legal work, but they kind of handled it a little differently in the Army Reserve. So that was I was 71 Delta.
Okay, wonderful.
What I'm looking for in a Secretary of Defense, sir, is a person who's going to fully fund the Defense Department. You know how the Democrats are. They're going to slash and burn and cut the defense budget, and you probably won't see a 335-ship Navy. What do you think?
I 100% agree with you. I believe she will be for a big, robust top line. In fact, Senator Talent, Mike Gallagher, a bunch of people in Congress are already beginning, and out of Congress are already beginning an effort to make sure that the top line goes up every year. Just that is the bottom line, is that the top line, the total budget for DOD has got to increase every year, and they've got to keep it on DOD missions. This cannot be another Obama disaster for the Pentagon. And I don't think Joe Biden is inclined that way. And if the Republicans win both Senate seats, there will not be massive cuts at DOD. They've got to win in Georgia to save the Department of Defense. It is that simple, Robert.
I understand that, sir, but I am, every time we have a Democrat president, our defenses just weaken. I don't know what it is with them, but they just want to weaken our defenses every time they get in office. It was with Carter, it was with Clinton, it was with Obama, and I'm sure the same thing's going to happen with Biden.
I believe, by the way, you are factually correct. Every single one of those presidencies saw decreases in the per capita allocation. There might have been nominal increases in defense, but in the per capita, in the amount of GDP allocated, the percentage of GDP allocated to defense, it always went down. I think it ought to be mandated at 5%, period, because a great nation does that. But it's always worse under Democrats. We can't afford to do another. Trump rebuilt the military. We got to keep it up at the levels that it's at, if not more. Thank you, my friend. Speaking of those Georgia Senate races, they found a 2019. This isn't going way back. Raphael Warnock is the radical reverend who is running for Georgia Senate. He is to the left of John Ossoff, who is to the left of AOC. So somehow the Georgia Democrats, in their wisdom, nominated the two most radical Senate candidates in the United States. They both got beat in round one, but Georgia has a funny law. You got to win with 50%, and there were so many candidates that David Perdue, the incumbent senator, didn't make 50% by about 25,000 votes or something like that. And Kelly Loeffler, the incumbent senator, had a primary challenge from Doug Collins. If you add up all the Republicans versus all of the Democrats, and then you give the Democrats the independents and the Greens in the jungle primary, the Republicans outbeat all the others by 70,000 votes. David Perdue had 88,000 votes more. They should win easily, but I'm still paying a lot of attention to Georgia because we know what Chuck Schumer promised. Here's Chuck Schumer, cut number one.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change the world. Yeah! I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Mr. Schumer? Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
I really do not know how anyone in Georgia votes for a Democrat when you know that Chuck Schumer is just going to put them in their back pocket and treat Georgia like an extension of Manhattan. That's all he has planned. But here's Raphael Warnock in cut number 6. He's in a 2019 sermon. Please play.
Enough of this madness driven by the so-called war on drugs. At least it was a war when the drug was crack. And the bodies were black and brown. In places like Detroit and Baltimore and the south side of Chicago and south central LA and certain communities in Atlanta, we had a war on drugs. But now that we are talking about opioids and meth and the faces of the human tragedy are white and suburban, suddenly we have a public health emergency. War, public health emergency. War, you have enemy combatants, prisoners of war, militarized weapons of war on civilian streets, privatized prisons, public health emergency, you have patients and doctors and clinics. And it is a public health emergency. Both are self-medicating in the midst of the American crisis. There is a spiritual sickness affecting all of America, in the cities and the rural areas and the suburbs. There is an aching void that cannot be filled with consumeristic preoccupations with getting the next thing, and religion garbed in the garments of capitalism and sacralized and blessed by preachers, even in black churches, who say that if you trust God, you'll have a bigger house and a bigger car, and getting our folk in more and more debt, consumed in more and more oppression. You ought to say no to the lie.
I do not believe for a moment that the fentanyl focus is driven by race. I'm all for a war on fentanyl and a war on crack and a war on meth. I'm all for the treatment of crack, the treatment of fentanyl, and the treatment of meth. I went to the Christ Our Redeemer Church at the invitation of my friend Dr. Mark Whitlock to talk politics one weekend last year. Primarily African-American church, not exclusively. It's an AME church in Orange County, California, one of the largest, and Pastor Whitlock has since been called to Reed Temple in Maryland. And I'll go there when the temple reopens as well. I love the Pastor Whitlock's preaching. He's a veteran of First AME and Dr. Chip Murray, who I interviewed for PBS years ago. And I got this question from a young man, said, were you indifferent to crack, and are you more concerned? And I recognized there's a lot more attention on fentanyl than there was on crack. But I don't believe it's because of race. I believe it's because of numbers and proximity. So if your family is dying, you notice it. And if your family isn't dying, you read about it. If your family, I would encourage everyone to watch the Hillbilly Elegy, because it's about addiction. It's a movie about addiction, about fentanyl in the broken down communities of the upper Midwest that have been passed over. But fentanyl's everywhere, just like crack cocaine is everywhere. It's not a black-white thing. I don't even think it helps the African-American community to cast it that way. I think Raphael Warnock is just so radical. Self-medicate to fill the void caused by capitalism? Really? Really? Cut number 5, more Raphael Warnock.
And so somebody decided that they had a bright idea to pass a piece of legislation that will allow for guns and concealed weapons to be carried in churches. Have you ever been to a church meeting? That's the last place.
You know, it is kind of a funny joke because having served on a Presbyterian session twice and having been part of Catholic leadership at a couple of parishes, those do become quite animated. But I mean, to joke about it in the aftermath, from the pulpit, in the aftermath of a few church slaughters, crazy people have brought guns to churches and slaughtered people. That's why there are armed guards. I mean, it was last year. This was a 2014 sermon. Maybe it's before the massacres. But yeah, churches do need protection now because of nuts. Because we have nuts who are anti-religion for a lot of reasons, primarily driven by a culture that hates God. Hey, let me talk to you about ReliefFactor.com. I'll give you relief from the Christmas season. You probably already got a headache shopping online yesterday. ReliefFactor.com doesn't do anything for headache. It's Icarian and curcumin, resveratrol, and omega. 4 pills. I'm taking them right now. I've got my lukewarm coffee. And hey, it's moderately warm coffee this morning. That's great. Down they go. That's how easy they are to swallow. If you're watching me on Facebook, I always do that. Live and on camera, as they say. I've got my Browns fleece on this morning because we are 8-3. I feel like if we could get some relief factor, we can get through the next 5 games and finish 13-3. Titans, Ravens, Steelers, no mind. We got both New York teams in there, so we're at least going to be 8-5. I mean 10-5. But I would rather 10-6. I would rather be 13 and 5. And if relieffactor.com does that, we need to get it to relieffactor.com. 1995 gets you started. Start today. David Drucker is next on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
Appreciate it. Chris is in San Antonio, Texas. Chris, you're on the Larry Elder Show.
Oh, wow. What an honor to speak with the great Eldersky. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Chris.
I guess my question is, can you imagine if this goes to the courts and then it goes to Congress and then it goes for President Trump like we all know it should?
Chris, mass suicide. Mass suicide.
This whole cities are going to be burned to the ground.
Their ears would explode. I mean, it would be catastrophic for the left if Donald Trump were awarded the election. You think we feel that the election was fraudulent? What do you think they're going to feel? They're going to go absolutely bonkers. They believe that the Russians not only interfered, but 78% of them believe that the Russians changed the outcome of the election, even though our intelligence committee has never reached that conclusion. So they're going to go absolutely bonkers. Remember what Hillary advised Joe Biden?
So we've got to have a massive legal operation, and I know the Biden campaign is working on that. We have to have poll workers, and I urge people who are able to be a poll worker. We have to have our own teams of people to counter the force of intimidation that the Republicans and Trump are going to put outside polling places. This is a big organizational challenge, but at least we know more about what they're going to do. And, you know, Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances.
They would go absolutely ballistic.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Now, I just was reading some other news as I was getting ready for the show today. Johnson & Johnson, which has not been mentioned in the equation. It's all been Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna. Johnson & Johnson, a pharmaceutical giant, is going to seek FDA authorization for their vaccine. And their vaccine is a single-dose COVID-19 vaccine. And it looks like it might be February or sooner. We are likely weeks away from sort of going in an entirely different direction and getting closer to putting this behind us. Remember when Brett Baer used to say we're one day closer to this end of coronavirus? We need it. We need it. I know there's lots of arguing and anger and frustration over the election. There should be. We knew all along, all of us knew that when you're encouraging millions and millions of people to mail in ballots because of COVID, that there was a real strong potential for, I don't know, the 27 toss-up races to all be won by Republicans down ballot, but Trump couldn't.
Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. I think I remember Jose Feliciano performing this on Ed Sullivan. David Drucker of the Washington Examiner, who you can follow at Twitter at David M. Drucker. Too young to remember that. But good morning, David. Merry Christmas season to you.
You too, Hugh. I wish I was too young to remember that, but I distinctly remember listening to it in the car with my father as a kid. So
yeah, it's always been around. It's a staple. Hey, David, I have a question that I'm hoping your estimable reporting skills can shed some light on. I was looking forward to Michelle Flournoy being the Secretary of Defense. I thought it was the easiest of the picks that he had to make. I thought, she served under President Clinton as an assistant secretary, under President Obama as the undersecretary. She was going to be President Hillary Clinton's Secretary of Defense, and she's been in waiting at CNAS for a long time. What is the holdup here?
Not sure, but they've been pretty methodical about rolling these things out. So I'll just assume it's coming. I don't know if it's anything more than that. I mean, the one thing I'll say, and I always find transitions fascinating, just because we're going to quibble over policy soon enough, but whenever you have a change in administration, it's like a whole new. Some of them they're not necessarily new characters, but it's a whole new cast of characters, a new team, and you start to wonder how this thing's going to play out. But I mean, I think we'll get to this, right? I mean, SecDef, he's done Secretary of the Treasury, he's done Secretary of State, and the triumvirate, at least that always concerns me. This is the last big fish left.
Well, the AG too. I mean, the AG matters a great deal. The big four.
I'm remiss to leave that out, but I still always, I guess, from a sort of financial and national security perspective, always think of those three.
You see, you're always dumping on the Lord. Edmund Randolph was the first Attorney General. There's only 4 jobs that go back to the beginning, and those are the 4. And the Attorney General, Edmund Randolph, people need to know. We were one of the 4. We lawyers are very touchy about that. Here is the other deal I want to bring up. Neera Tanden. I've got a lot of scars from Neera Tanden. And nevertheless, I think she's superbly qualified. She's very liberal. She's very funny. She's very smart. I don't know if it's good for people. I mean, I'm never going to become ambassador to Bermuda if they start turning down people who are active on Twitter. I mean, my life goal is to be ambassador to Bermuda, and that's never going to happen if your Twitter feed's going to disqualify you.
Yeah, no, basically, we might as well shut down the U.S. government as the years go by, because everybody's scarred by this thing. Look, my first reaction was, well, naturally, because when you offend U.S. senators and later you want them to confirm you, they take revenge or they take issue with you. But, I was also thinking, I mean, we have a president who's been extremely active, vocal, and emotive on Twitter over the past few years, and the general rule among Republican senators was, policy is what matters most, and yeah, this isn't nice, but, it's not the biggest deal in the world, and we've learned to live with it, so, look, it's going to be their prerogative, but it's not as though somebody being critical of other people on Twitter has been disqualifying to the voters. So I don't know that it has to be disqualifying to Republican senators, but again, they have the votes. They, they're most likely going to control the floor, and so we'll see how they handle it.
To me, it will be fascinating because there is some payback to be had, but it's not at the cabinet level. Chuck Schumer slow-walked everyone after the initial cabinet. They took out Andy Posner, so there might be, as Josh Holmes said, a sacrifice necessary to the confirmation gods. But I really do think presidents ought to be able to get up and running at the beginning of their administration with a great deal of deference. And I certainly don't think a liberal activist is out because she's sharp-tongued and very smart. I just don't buy it, and I have more Neera Tanden scars than anybody, David Drucker. I'm on the top of her Twitter feed, right? So I really don't understand why people are so upset. Has anyone given you any insight on the Hill as to why they're so upset about her?
Yeah, I think nobody gave me special insight, but just in reading the tweets, ironically, about why they don't want to confirm her, she was her attacks, they felt, were personal in nature and not just policy in nature, right? So, they didn't just accuse, in their view, it's like they didn't just accuse Senate Republicans. She didn't just accuse them of being wrong. She accused them of being purposely, willfully, mean and immoral and things like that.
Well, there is a difference between wrong and rotten. I always tell people that Bill Maher is rotten. That's why I won't go on his show. But I don't mind people who are just wrong. I think Neera's just wrong. I don't think she's rotten. And I just worry about...
This is politics today.
Yeah.
Everybody accuses everybody of being rotten, not wrong. It used to be you're wrong, but my idea is better. And now when people say, and I see this on both sides, you're wrong, you're doing it for evil purposes. I mean, this is what politics has become.
Yeah, the attribution of intent is the difference.
Yep.
And the attribution of intent, that will kill, that's going to resound through the ages. If they take out Neera when the Republicans retake the White House next, that standard will be applied to every staffer on the Hill, David Drucker. Do they know that?
I think everybody knows what's going on, and nobody knows how to fix it, or they know how to fix it and nobody wants to do it. One thing, and I've told this to you, Hugh, over the years, the one thing Democrats and Republicans seem to agree on is that the other side is worse than I am, and I wish we were like you, and it's all your fault. And if people don't call a truce and just proceed, we're going to end up in the same direction we've been going.
Yeah, it would be interesting. We'll see if a truce breaks out. David Drucker, good to talk to you, my friend. Follow him on Twitter, David M. Drucker. Follow me to hour number 2 of the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
All right, let's begin with Jamie in Freehold, New Jersey. The famous Jamie of Freehold. Hello.
How are you today? Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
So, I'm 46 years old. I just have to say that I discovered you about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's the happiness hour makes my week.
I love that.
I literally look forward to you singing the original lyrics.
I love you for that. No, the original lyrics line. You cracked me up.
The original lyrics.
Yes,
yeah.
every
anyway,
week.
I recently, yes, absolutely. When I miss it, I'm unhappy.
Gotcha.
So I recently started smoking cigars, and I was just curious, very simply, what's your favorite cigar and why?
So I have a number of answers to that, and even though 98% of you don't smoke cigars, you should still be interested in the question because it's philosophic. It's not just cigars, and I'll explain why. So I have 2 answers, and one is if I were to ask you what is your favorite food, would you have an answer?
No, because I have multiple.
Oh, that's my answer on cigars.
So if you were in a jolly good mood in front of one of your fireside chats, what's one that you'd go to?
All right, so now it's not one. There is a generic type that I tend to love.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
And I hope that this does not explode to the volcanic expectations that I have. And it's actually, I'm unbelievably worried where this is going. Because normal people, regular Americans, are not going to tolerate what is happening right now in our country. And what's happening is the widespread criminality from within our own government. That's where things start to get very, very dangerous. And normal people and regular people that work their tail off to do the right thing, to not even get parking tickets, to not even get speeding, to people that follow the law, they see this Nevada cash for vote scheme. They see the granny farming that whistleblowers have now said exists in in Wisconsin. They see the piles of dead voters that allegedly voted in these states. They see the 1,774% increase for older people, that 90-plus-year-olds that register to vote in Pennsylvania, most of which register to vote online. You're right. They see the National Democrat Party suggesting re-education camps for Trump supporters. They see the New York Times article that says, reach out to Trump supporters, I try. They also then see the candidate that they voted for, Donald Trump. What are they saying on the front page of the New York Times? That he might go to prison as soon as he's done with his term. Playing with fire, everybody. It's not good.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. Supreme Court Judge Samuel Alito recently made a startling point. Religious liberty is in danger of becoming a second-class right. Alito said as much to the Federalist Society.
Just as the COVID restrictions have highlighted the movement toward rule by experts, litigation about those restrictions has pointed up emerging trends in the assessment of individual rights. This is especially evident with respect to religious liberty. It pains me to say this, but in certain quarters, religious liberty is fast becoming a disfavored right.
Alito argued that not only religious liberty, but free speech is imperiled.
Support for freedom of speech is also in danger, And COVID rules have restricted speech in unprecedented ways.
This is a timely and prescient warning. Religious liberty is the very foundation of American freedom, and free speech is part of what makes America great. We cannot sit passively by as our cherished freedoms are whittled away. We must pay attention and take action where we can. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Restrictions starting today. Gyms, movie theaters, churches can no longer meet indoors. As a result of the emergency orders, 41 of California's 58 counties are now in what's called purple tier status, and that is Newsom's strictest category. He's also considering instituting a statewide curfew. Meanwhile, the governor attended a dinner party at an upscale French restaurant and had more than the 10 people that he is saying that you can only have when you are in some sort of social gathering. And he's put out a statement saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it. We're all gonna do better."
And as soon as I sat down at the larger table, I realized it was a little larger group than I had anticipated.
And he started counting them: 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe he didn't realize that he had exceeded the number. First, he sends his children to in-person private school while attacking school choice and keeping public schools closed throughout California. Now he attends a private gathering while telling Californians to do otherwise.
Got to own that. And so I want to apologize to you because I need to preach and practice, not just preach.
Sacramento Bee editorial board, quote, "If Newsom can't get his head into the game, perhaps he should make the governor thing a one-term affair and leave the job open for someone with a desire to lead," end of quote. You know, he told you not to have a gathering of more than 10 people. He exceeded that, but spiritually he didn't exceed it. He may have exceeded it physically.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Today's a big day. Today is the day that Pfizer will be formally requesting emergency use authorization for their vaccine against coronavirus. The president initiated and the administration implemented Operation Warp Speed, which is leading to the reveal that within weeks, it appears, millions and millions of Americans will start getting the vaccination against COVID-19. Of course, it's coming at a time that is urgently needed. In the vice president's words yesterday, coronavirus is surging through the nation. The U.S. death toll that has been attributed to coronavirus is over 252,000 Americans. 2,000 reported yesterday. Hospitalizations, according to the mainstream media, and I always know we have to look at that with a little bit of a wary eye, but in their words, hospitalizations across America have exploded. 80,000 Americans are now in the hospital getting inpatient treatment. Yesterday, the governor of California imposed a month-long 10 p.m. curfew for nearly everybody in the most populous state in America, California. And
Morning, glory, America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. Hugh Hewitt inside of a wet beltway where it may be drying out today. I hope you are having a great Giving Tuesday. It's December 1st. Don't forget, over at HughHewitt.com, Angel Tree of Prison Fellowship. That's a great place to do your Giving Tuesday. Joined by Byron York of the Washington Examiner. He is always here on Tuesday. Good morning, Byron. How are you?
Good morning, Hugh. Doing well, thanks.
I got a couple of questions for you. First of all, I believe that the COVID spike is huge, but I don't think legacy media is paying much attention to Operation Warp Speed. I had a retired toxicologist, PhD drug trial expert, tell me that Operation Warp Speed is a history of science moment, a phenomenal achievement that we've never approached before, a scientific and logistical miracle. And I don't see it being covered that way. Do you?
Of course not. Of course not. Now, first of all, I totally agree with you on the importance of it. On the just the basic fact. I mean, Donald Trump promised a vaccine in record time, and there are going to be vaccines, plural, in record time. So that's a huge deal. And a lot of people in the press are not willing to give him credit for that because everything he does is wrong in their view. There have been a few exceptions. So I'm not surprised at all. On the other hand, I will say the Trump White House could do a much better job of telling its story. There is a massive mobilization effort going on right now. I mean, there's the effort that's going on inside the pharmaceutical companies to create and test and ready this vaccine for distribution, and then there is the distribution effort. You know, Trump will say, well, the military is in charge with that. Well, this will require an extraordinary distribution effort. In the case of one of the vaccines, it has to be stored at, a super low temperature that requires all sorts of technical and logistical work that is being done now. The president could actually come out and give updates on it, like he does on the number of miles of border barrier that have been built. And so I do think it's no surprise that a lot of people in the press are not treating this administration, covering it fairly, but it also should be that the president makes a better case and tells the people what he's doing.
One of the things that toxicologists told me that's never been done before, the government bought millions of pre-produced dosages against the risk they wouldn't be approved. They've been manufactured. They are, in fact, being shipped. People think we're waiting for the FDA to approve that. We're not. That distribution is rolling out. They're in places already. They've been shipped abroad from Pfizer and Moderna because we paid for them. And we had no risk contract guarantees from Operation Warp Speed, which is why they took the risk of pre-producing something that might not be approved. This is why he said the average vaccine is an 11 to 12 year process. 11 to 12 years, Byron. And we've got 3. Now, one of them is in Great Britain, and the AstraZeneca one, he tells me, is going to be important for the third world, which does not have the logistical capability of cooling, especially the Pfizer vaccine, to the super sub-zero temperatures. But all 3 are benefiting from Operation Warp Speed. Boy, they should be out there talking about that every day. I kind of fault Dr. Fauci, because while he's out there with his regular message, and I love Tony Fauci, I think he's great, his regular message of wash your hands, wear a mask, I think it's easier to encourage people to just be careful for 2 or 3 more months, because it's not help is on the way. Help is here.
It's here. And, the other thing is that when you listen to, Joe Biden talk, and, he based a lot of his campaign on his claim that he would better handle the pandemic. And basically, Biden is pledging to continue what Trump is doing on the pandemic. And as far as the vaccine is concerned, I believe that most of Biden's concerns seem to be about the equitable distribution of the vaccine to groups that are most effective, as opposed to just a lot of the logistics of getting the darn thing out there, given the constraints of handling that it involves, temperature and all that.
Yeah, they dare not mess too much with the distribution, Byron. Ron Klain's a smart guy, very smart guy. If they came in and screwed up the distribution of a working system, that would be so much worse than the Obamacare rollout. That would be a nightmare that would live on in infamy. So they'll just let it go. They'll just try and put their name on it, which is fine. That's what politicians do.
Exactly, but Trump will be able to legitimately claim credit for this. And, I do think that that Trump was fair when, during the campaign, he talked about what Ron Klain had said about the Obama administration's handling of H1N1, which was, Klain had been the Ebola czar, which was a successful effort, but he was still in the White House when the H1N1 effort happened, and he said, look, we did everything wrong. And we were lucky that it was not a
killer,
lethal
not
infection, because if it had been, it would have been one of the biggest mass casualty events in U.S. history.
Two quick questions about confirmation politics. One, where is Michelle Flournoy's name? I am truly mystified by this. And then second, look, I've got a lot of near tendon scars. I've been on the receiving end of near, and that's fine. She's smart, she's funny, she's quick-witted. I think she'd be a good OMB director, though a liberal. She's not rotten like Bill Maher. There's a difference between wrong and rotten. But why are those two in heavy weather as opposed to everybody else? Because they're both mainstream liberals.
You could call her up, although I think she's too busy deleting tweets as we speak. Did you read the Axios report about General Lloyd Austin and the Secretary of Defense?
No.
Okay, it reported last week. The Biden rollout of his national security team was interesting. He rolled out a Secretary of State, a National Security Advisor, Director of National Intelligence, Secretary of Homeland Security. Now, if you're going to roll out your national security team, a Secretary of Defense seems to be part of that, right? But there wasn't one. And basically what Axios reported was that was intentional. It was a desire to de-emphasize military power as an instrument of national power, and the DoD role. I'm going to quote somebody quoted in a source quoted in the Axios piece. Having DoD roll out front and center sends one message. Not doing so sends another message. There's been always an intent to signal from day one that this is not an administration that's going to put the Pentagon at the center of things. The short version is, quote, the Biden team wants to elevate diplomacy and de-emphasize the military as an instrument of national power. Now, I think that's completely wrong. I mean, the reason you can have a powerful diplomacy is because you have a powerful military and also a powerful economy. So I think they've got things completely wrong, but I think they're having a debate just about the nature of national intelligence. I think that's what's going on. There's also, according to the Axios thing, there's also a race issue because they have already nominated a white Secretary of State, a white Secretary of the Treasury. The big four are State, Treasury, Justice, and Defense. And so I think they want to get a balance in there, and they're not sure how that's going to work out.
You know, they do have an African-American woman as the vice president. I point out that Mike Pence is very much a part of the National Security Council. And I would just add a woman would be the first woman in the chain of command. And we've never had a senior chain of command female. And I just can't see them not doing that, especially when she's this qualified. Is there something else, Byron, or is it just equity and diversity?
Yeah. I see what you're saying, which is the fact that she hasn't been met did lead to speculation there was something wrong with her nomination. Maybe there's some fact in her past that's come up or something like that. I'm not aware of anything like that. I think it's more just moving the chess pieces. I think it's about the actual philosophy of a Secretary of Defense, and it's about diversity because the Axios piece also noted, and James Clyburn has said he was disappointed at the lack of inclusion of African Americans in the major cabinet positions. Remember, there's lots of cabinet positions. Some are more important than others, and I can imagine some black politicians saying, "Oh, you want to have a black Commerce Secretary? That's very nice. What about the big four?" So I think we'll have to see what Biden does here. And I would actually look at somebody like Clyburn. I mean, does any president owe his election to one person more than Joe Biden owes it to James Clyburn? I mean, really? No,
but the DOD matters to every Blue Star family out there. I mean, that's not That's one. I'm going to talk to Stavridis about that. There is the attorney generalship as well, and they've never had an African American woman run that, and there are some very qualified people for that job. We'll see. Diversity, I know, matters a lot, but the DOD matters experience in the Pentagon bureaucracy. Byron York, follow him on Twitter, follow him on Fox News, follow me to the next segment of the Hugh Hewitt Show. Thank you, Byron.
Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
Appreciate it. Chris is in San Antonio, Texas. Chris, you're on the Larry Elder Show.
Oh, wow. What an honor to speak with the great Eldersky. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Chris.
I guess my question is, can you imagine if this goes to the courts and then it goes to Congress and then it goes for President Trump like we all know it should?
Chris, mass suicide. Mass suicide.
This whole cities are going to be burned to the ground.
Their ears would explode. I mean, it would be catastrophic for the left if Donald Trump were awarded the election. You think we feel that the election was fraudulent? What do you think they're going to feel? They're going to go absolutely bonkers. They believe that the Russians not only interfered, but 78% of them believe that the Russians changed the outcome of the election, even though our intelligence committee has never reached that conclusion. So they're going to go absolutely bonkers. Remember what Hillary advised Joe Biden?
So we've got to have a massive legal operation. I know the Biden campaign is working on that. We have to have poll workers, and I urge people who are able to be a poll worker. We have to have our own teams of people to counter the force of intimidation that the Republicans and Trump are going to put outside polling places. This is a big organizational challenge, but at least we know more about what they're going to do. And, you know, Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances.
They would go absolutely ballistic.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Now, I just was reading some other news as I was getting ready for the show today. Johnson & Johnson, which has not been mentioned in the equation. It's all been Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna. Johnson & Johnson, a pharmaceutical giant, is going to seek FDA authorization for their vaccine. And their vaccine is a single-dose COVID-19 vaccine. And it looks like it might be February or sooner. We are likely weeks away from sort of going in an entirely different direction and getting closer to putting this behind us. Remember when Brett Baer used to say we're one day closer to this end of coronavirus? We need it. We need it. I know there's lots of arguing and anger and frustration over the election. There should be. We knew all along, all of us knew that when you're encouraging millions and millions of people to mail in ballots because of COVID, that there was a real strong potential for, I don't know, the 27 toss-up races to all be won by Republicans down ballot, but Trump couldn't quite pull it off. Yeah, right. Biden got 10 million more votes than Barack Obama did. Yeah, right. Americans are not stupid. We're not blind. And we may be frustrated right now, and we may be stressed, and we may be prepared for whatever comes our way. We're going to persevere.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Dennis Prager Show.
All right, let's begin with Jamie in Freehold, New Jersey. The famous Jamie of Freehold. Hello.
How are you today? Thanks for taking
Welcome back, America. It's Giving Tuesday. I'm Hugh Hewitt inside the Beltway, urging you to remember Angel Tree in your Giving Tree plans. It's atop HughHewitt.com. 2.7 million children have one or both parents behind bars, but Christmas can be full of joy for them as well because of the Angel Tree Ministry of Prison Fellowship, connecting those moms and dads with their children with gifts and notes and Bibles and fellowship and follow-up. And that's what happens. And whatever you can give, it is so efficient. Prison Fellowship is so efficient in making this happen. And they're also needy this year because normally it works on church patios. That's where the Fetching Mrs. Hewitt and I have always supported Prison Fellowship. We've picked a couple of names on the church patio and done some shopping and brought the gifts. And they had a whole transportation system, a whole logistical system. And it's all disrupted, but they will step into the void. Online at HughHewitt.com, just go to the top. You'll see a Christmas tree with small children around it. Those are the people who are served by Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree. Or you can call 888-206-2764. That's 888-206-2764. And be as generous as you can. I also remind you on Giving Tuesday, you have 5 fingers for a reason. You give to your church. You give to a parachurch organization. You give to a group that supports the military. It can be the Semper Fi in America's Fund. It can be Fisher House. I don't care what it is. Make it a good one that has low overhead like the Semper Fi in America's Fund. And please give to a school that was good to you like John F. Kennedy High School in Warren, Ohio. And then give to a college or a secondary school that takes care of people that you just don't have any debt to. You're just helping excel. I always think Hillsdale when I think of that. 5 fingers for 5 giving reasons. Let's check markets, brought to you by Andrew and Todd.com, longtime sponsors of the show. They are so crazy busy. I talk to Andrew Del Rey almost weekly. I email him often. I don't want him to collapse. The guy's, he's 15 years younger than I am, but he's still working a lot harder than I am, and I work pretty hard. And Todd Avakian works just as hard, and their team is working hard. 888-888-1172. Or just go online to andrewandtodd.com. That's actually the most efficient thing to do, because then they can look at it and give you they get right to the core of what you need done. Do you need a refinancing to save money on your mortgage payment? Do you need to get money out of the house to pay for college? Or there's a lot of home care going on during the shutdown. People are adding kitchens and bathrooms. My daughter-in-law redid all of her cabinets. She didn't have to do refinancing for that, but a lot of people are hiring pros. She did it herself. This is not in the Hewitt family genetics. We're not do-it-yourselfers. Although I've helped Carl attack many a painting problem with advice from the sidelines. I design the studio and I fix the studio. I do not do a lot of home repair. If you want to redo your house, go to andrewandtodd.com. And if you want to help your son or daughter or son-in-law and daughter-in-law get into a house or a grandchild, then become a non-occupying co-borrower. andrewandtodd.com will teach you how to do that. Yesterday, everything was down on news that Black Friday was indeed black. It was terrible. It was not in the black. It was in the red. And the Dow got the news yesterday. It went down 271 points. The NASDAQ was off 7. The S&P was down 16. Well, this morning abroad, Cyber Monday was so good. England is up 2%. Germany is up 1%. I don't know what today will bring. Amazon, my stock of choice, the only one I own outside of mutual funds, was down 27 yesterday. I expect it will well beyond make up that ground today because Cyber Monday was extraordinary, the early reports, because everyone is shopping from home. It's just the reality of this season. People are just shopping from home. You can shop a mortgage with andrewandtodd.com, and you can shop. You can do Giving Tuesday online. Everything you need is at HughHewitt.com. I mean, really, there's only one website that you need, HughHewitt.com. I hope you're watching us on Facebook and YouTube. I hope you subscribe to the after show. Dwayne in the Christmas season is like listening to the Grinch, and it's really good for you to listen to the Grinch every day, and you can do that in the after show at 8 p.m. in the East, 5 in the West. But you got to subscribe to the Universe, which is a great Christmas present, by the way. Dwayne every day, plus me, every show here on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. Supreme Court Judge Samuel Alito recently made a startling point. Religious liberty is in danger of becoming a second-class right. Alito said as much to the Federalist Society.
Just as the COVID restrictions have highlighted the movement toward rule by experts, litigation about those restrictions has pointed up emerging trends in the assessment of individual rights. This is especially evident with respect to religious liberty. It pains me to say this, but in certain quarters, religious liberty is fast becoming a disfavored right.
Alito argued that not only religious liberty, but free speech is imperiled.
Support for freedom of speech is also in danger, and COVID rules have restricted speech in unprecedented ways.
This is a timely and prescient warning. Religious liberty is the very foundation of American freedom, and free speech is part of what makes America great. We cannot sit passively by as our cherished freedoms are whittled away. We must pay attention and take action where we can. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Restrictions starting today. Gyms, movie theaters, churches can no longer meet indoors. As a result of the emergency orders, 41 of California's 58 counties are now in what's called purple tier status, and that is Newsom's strictest category. He's also considering instituting a statewide curfew. Meanwhile, the governor attended a dinner party at an upscale French restaurant and had more than the 10 people that he is saying that you can only have when you are in some sort of social gathering. And he's put out a statement saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it. We're all gonna do better."
And as soon as I sat down at the larger table, I realized it was a little larger group than I had anticipated.
And he started counting them: 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe he didn't realize that he had exceeded the number. First, he sends his children to in-person private school while attacking school choice and keeping public schools closed throughout California. Now he attends a private gathering while telling Californians to do otherwise.
Got to own that. And so I want to apologize to you because I need to preach and practice, not just preach.
Sacramento Bee editorial board, quote, "If Newsom can't get his head into the game, perhaps he should make the governor thing a one-term affair and leave the job open for someone with a desire to lead," end of quote. You know, he told you not to have a gathering of more than 10 people. He exceeded that, but spiritually he didn't exceed it. He may have exceeded it physically.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Today's a big day. Today is the day that Pfizer will be formally requesting emergency use authorization for their vaccine against coronavirus. The president initiated and the administration implemented Operation Warp Speed, which is leading to the reveal that within weeks, it appears, millions and millions of Americans will start getting the vaccination against COVID-19. Of course, it's coming at a time that is urgently needed. In the vice president's words yesterday, coronavirus is surging through the nation. The U.S. death toll that has been attributed to a coronavirus is over 252,000 Americans. 2,000 reported yesterday. Hospitalizations, according to the mainstream media, and I always know we have to look at that with a little bit of a wary eye, but in their words, hospitalizations across America have exploded. 80,000 Americans are now in the hospital getting inpatient treatment. Yesterday, the governor of California imposed a month-long 10 p.m. curfew for nearly everybody in the most populous state in America, California. And I just take a lot of comfort in knowing that the Trump administration delivered essentially a vaccine that in normal times would have taken 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Dennis Prager Show.
Jennifer in Tustin, California. Hi. Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. During Christmas, Admiral James Stavridis, retired United States Navy. That's going to be his song. 3 ships come sailing in, and Admiral Stavridis probably at the helm of one of them. Good morning, Admiral. Welcome back to the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Good to be back and wishing I was out at sea myself these days.
I'll bet. Don't worry. The help is on the way. It's rolling out. I had a PhD toxicologist tell me this week that Operation Warp Speed is a scientific and logistical miracle without precedent in the history of science, and it's because the United States military is delivering the prefabricated doses. We've already made millions of doses. I don't think Americans know that they're being flown around the world in part by the logistical capacity of the Pentagon, which is immense.
Yeah, this is a classic case study of where the military does things besides war. This is a case where you bring that enormous logistic, planning, delivery, stockpiling. That's what we do during peacetime. We know how to do this. So this is a case that is absolutely made for the U.S. military. I'm very proud of the folks that are doing it on the ground and in the air, frankly.
Now, Admiral, I want to talk to you about a delicate subject. I'm pretty sure you probably know everyone who's on the top of the list for Secretary of Defense, and you know them well, whether it's Jay Johnson or the General, and we talked about Michelle Flournoy. So I am confused because I thought Michelle Flournoy was a mortal lock, as they say in the business of musicals, and I hope it's still her, given her vast experience. But what are they looking for? Well, I mean, what's the skill set? We did this last week, but let's break it down. There's never been a woman in the senior chain of command. So I tried in my civilian way to explain what that means. Maybe you can start there. What is the senior chain of command?
Well, she is the, if you will, the number 3 person in the Pentagon. So you have a Secretary of Defense, think a CEO of a company. You have a Deputy Secretary of Defense, kind of the Deputy CEO. And then pretty much right below that is the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. It's kind of a mouthful, but it's the operations officer. It's the person in the Pentagon who looks at this vast machinery and decides whether to recommend to the president and to the Secretary of Defense. Does the carrier go to the Arabian Gulf, or does it go to the South China Sea? Does that battalion of Army Rangers go into the Middle East, or do we send them to Latin America? So it's the operations officer. It is the person who moves the chess pieces around the board. I worked with Michelle, day for day for years as commander of U.S. Southern Command, Latin America, and commander, obviously, of NATO and Europe. And she is absolutely outstanding. She would be an absolutely terrific Secretary of Defense.
So the chain of command that I referred to, I believe, is the president to the Secretary of Defense. It's not the vice president. It's not the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And it goes from the SecDef to the combatant commanders, of which you were one twice. And so I don't think there's ever been a woman at that level. Am I right about that in the chain of command?
You are correct. And just to clarify, she, just like the vice president, she's not in the chain of command. The chain of command, you nailed it, goes president, Secretary of Defense, combatant commander, the 4-star, the 10 4-star officers around the world, and then down to the troops, the Navy ships, the Air Force planes. Her role as the operations officer was to recommend where all of those chess pieces go, and she was pretty damn good at it.
Now, I want to correct something I misspoke earlier. I said there hadn't yet been an African-American woman Attorney General. Of course there was, Loretta Lynch. I was forgetting the last one, but the last Democratic appointee. But a lot of people want an African-American Secretary of Defense, and to me, this ought to be the last job that you worry about diversity. The Department of Defense is so vast, and I explain it to people this way. I've only been to Pentagon 3 times in my life. One time I went on a tour, and I was completely befuddled where I was. It's the worst maze I have ever been in. I don't know how you get in and out of there every day. It's not like Justice. I can walk around Justice 30 years later and find the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. I know that Homeland Security is big and sprawling, but there's nothing like the Pentagon. Does anything translate to Pentagon experience, Admiral?
No, it doesn't. And however, we ought to point out that this is a case where the other candidates, the 2 that are most prominent, are in fact very qualified themselves. One, Jay Johnson, was the general counsel, the lawyer, the head lawyer for the entire Department of Defense, and then went on to be a cabinet secretary at Homeland Security, where, by the way, he ran the Coast Guard among many other agencies. So highly qualified individual. And then the name of the general that's popping up, Lloyd Austin, again, very experienced, a contemporary of mine, was Commander U.S. Central Command as I was finishing my time as the NATO commander. So it's different skill sets you could choose to apply. If you want a Lloyd Austin, you're going to get a uniformed military who has that fine, Germans call it Fingerstuhl, the absolute feeling for the combat operations. Personally, I think having a military leader run the Pentagon is, generally speaking, former military, is not the right way to go. There's a reason we have waivers. You want a real fire break between civilians and military. You want civilian control of the military. But Lloyd would bring extreme knowledge of operations. Jay Johnson would bring very broad experience in the department, plus the connectivity with the Homeland Security, which is a significant part of the DoD role. Michelle is that all-court player, the Larry Bird, who makes everybody else on the court just look terrific. All 3 of them are terrific people. They're all 3 friends of mine. I think it's a good set of choices.
It is. Let me now raise the Republican point of view. Jay Johnson has been very moderate in his television appearances. There are a lot of them. So there will be a lot of confirmation. This is what Neera Tanden's running into, and I like Neera. I've told people I got more Neera scars than anybody, and I don't care. She's smart, and she's a liberal, and the president should get who he wants. But nevertheless, it's a longer confirmation. The general, I don't know, but no one is. I'm second to nobody in my admiration for General Mattis. People can watch our interview at the Nixon Foundation and see that. I just thought it was great. But when he got there, he stood up basically Central Command again. And the big rap from the Senate was he brought back all of his aides from CENTCOM and didn't bring in any Republicans. If it's General Austin, is that something they've got to guard against because there is this reflexive reach for the familiar?
100% correct. And the model here, interestingly, is the mirror image of this. And it is when Colin Powell, retired general, went to be the Secretary of State and lead America's diplomacy. And famously, Colin Powell walked into Foggy Bottom, walked into the headquarters of State Department all by himself. Didn't bring a single aide, didn't bring a single military person with him. He knew that he had to show the Foreign Service that he was there to be a diplomat for America. And in my view, did an absolutely terrific job as a Secretary of State. I think if you're going to bring a retired military, I would hope that they would follow the Colin Powell model. I think it's a pretty good one.
Now I want to switch over. I was on Meet the Press this Sunday, Admiral, and one of your friends, Admiral Mullins, was on, the former CNO. He was very critical of the strike in Iran against nuclear scientists, which is widely believed to have been the Israelis, though, of course, they never confirm nor deny. And I was a little surprised by that because what other countries do in their own national security interest isn't really up for American grab. I was wondering what you thought about the operation. I don't think it was ours. I don't believe we had foreknowledge of it. But what do you think about lecturing other countries about what they do in their own defense?
Well, first of all, let's look at the strike. I think from an Israeli perspective, it made a lot of sense. You take out one of the leading figures. We ought to be clear, however, taking out that particular scientist is not going to, I don't think, significantly slow down their program. That knowledge is well distributed at this point. But from an Israeli perspective, it discourages bright young people from participating in the program, shall we say. It forces the Iranians to apply more resources to protect their scientific core, and it embarrasses the Iranians deeply. I think that may be the worst blow of all. So from an Israeli perspective, it makes a lot of sense. From an Iranian perspective, it's terrible. It's a bill that will come due for Israel. There's just no question, particularly when you tie it to Soleimani's killing earlier in the year by the United States and the mysterious, with quotes around it, explosions all over the centrifugal pumps in the Iranian nuclear program. So there are a lot of bills that are going to come due on the Iranian side. From a U.S. side, it's a mixed picture, and it's in terms of putting pressure on Iran and seeing that pressure come to Iran. Nothing wrong with that from a U.S. perspective. From our perspective, however, trying to get back to negotiations, it creates difficulties, frankly, for the incoming Biden administration.
Let me close with this, Admiral. You mentioned bills coming due. I remember when Bill Clinton acted expeditiously against a plot against George H.W. Bush by Saddam Hussein. That bill was attempted to be collected by the dictator, and he ended up getting a severe, significant rebuke. Do you expect Team Biden to do anything to Iran should they attempt to collect a bill on Soleimani from any American anywhere?
I do, and I think any administration would respond overwhelmingly if, for example, an American diplomat, a U.S. ambassador serving abroad, was killed by terrorists masquerading as coming under Iranian guidance, perhaps masquerading as independent terrorists. I think if we had knowledge and we could pin that on Iran, we would respond massively. I have no doubt about that.
That's reassuring. That was what I hope you would say. Admiral James Stavridis, always a pleasure. Hope your December is off to a good start. Follow him on Twitter at Stavridis. I always mispronounce it, but the Admiral's always kind, like Archbishop Champue. Thank you, Admiral. Be well. I'm always mispronounce everyone's name. It's kind of a bug for other shows, but it's a feature of the Hugh Hewitt show. I have audio dyslexia, and I'm serious about that. I just, when a name gets into my head the wrong way, it stays there, rattles around, and then mixes up with the right way to pronounce it. Luckily, Dwayne, as we call him, or Generalissimo, or ADO blogger, they're different things that I can get right, but I didn't get right earlier, and I want to correct it again. I said there had not been an African-American female attorney general. Of course, Loretta Lynch was. You make mistakes in this business, own them right away. Nevertheless, I don't like the diversity game when it comes to DOD. I think every Blue Star family out there joins me in saying, no, select the most qualified person to run that vast and sprawling enterprise. I don't care what gender or ethnicity or race they are, but get the most qualified person on your list. That's like getting ReliefFactor.com, the best supplement, the only one I take. I do take a vitamin. I do take extra vitamin D in this era of the COVID when people say that works, and I believe it works, but I take Relief Factor every day. Resupplied my East Coast studio. I am fully supplied at the West Coast studio, although Mrs. Radio Blogger comes by every now and then, light finger lady that she is, and relieves me of books and CJ Box books and ReliefFactor.com. Nevertheless, I'm fully stocked, as you should be, for the holidays. You're going to be going up to the attic. You're going to be wrestling the artificial tree. You're going to be hanging the lights outside, and you're going to pull a muscle, if not fall. And so do me a favor, be careful, but take your ReliefFactor.com. Support for the temporary relief of the minor aches and pains that come throughout the year whenever you exercise as you get older, and especially at Christmas time when you do Christmas things that are unique to the season. ReliefFactor.com. Stay tuned. Coming right back, America. 1-800-520-1234. Open line on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
starting today. Gyms, movie theaters, churches can no longer meet indoors. As a result of the emergency orders, 41 of California's 58 counties are now in what's called purple tier status, and that is Newsom's strictest category. He's also considering instituting a statewide curfew. Meanwhile, the governor attended a dinner party at an upscale French restaurant and had more than the 10 people that he is saying that you can only have when you are in some sort of social gathering. And he's put out a statement saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it. We're all gonna do better."
And as soon as I sat down at the larger table, I realized it was a little larger group than I had anticipated.
And he started counting them: 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe he didn't realize that he had exceeded the number. First, he sends his children to in-person private school while attacking school choice and keeping public schools closed throughout California. Now he attends a private gathering while telling Californians to do otherwise.
Got to own that. And so I want to apologize to you because I need to preach and practice, not just preach.
Sacramento Bee editorial board, quote, "If Newsom can't get his head into the game, perhaps he should make the governor thing a one-term affair and leave the job open for someone with a desire to lead," end of quote. You know, he told you not to have a gathering of more than 10 people. He exceeded that, but spiritually he didn't exceed it. He may have exceeded it physically.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Today's a big day. Today is the day that Pfizer will be formally requesting emergency use authorization for their vaccine against coronavirus. The president initiated and the administration implemented Operation Warp Speed, which is leading to the reveal that within weeks, it appears, millions and millions of Americans will start getting the vaccination against COVID-19. Of course, it's coming at a time that is urgently needed. In the vice president's words yesterday, coronavirus is surging through the nation. The U.S. death toll that has been attributed to a coronavirus is over 252,000 Americans. 2,000 reported yesterday. Hospitalizations, according to the mainstream media, and I always know we have to look at that with a little bit of a wary eye, but in their words, hospitalizations across America have exploded. 80,000 Americans are now in the hospital getting inpatient treatment. Yesterday, the governor of California imposed a month-long
Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. I did not expect to see Eaton and woke in a headline, but reading the Telegraph from Great Britain during the break, I see that the Eaton paradox, how Britain's most elite school went woke. It's everywhere. I'm not joined by anyone right now. I don't have a guest. Yeah, someone's talking to Dwayne, and it showed up there on the back line. 1-800-520-1234. Let me remind you, Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday. Please remember to go and be as generous as you can to Angel Tree. The banner is at the top of HughHewitt.com. Many of you do Giving Tuesday, and Angel Tree is a great place to do it. Let me also give you a phone number for that, because some of you won't go online, even though it's much better to give online. It's more secure. But I call 888-206-2764. 888-206-2764. $5 to $5,000 to $50,000. 206-2764. On Giving Tuesday, if you're just getting into your car, you haven't heard me say this yet, you have 5 fingers for a reason. Number 1, you give to your church, especially this year, especially when budgets are crimped. Number 2, you give to a parachurch organization. I like Young Life. I love the Salvation Army. Of course, Prison Fellowship, Angel Tree is a parachurch organization. That's who I'm giving to this year. Number 3, you give to a charity or a not-for-profit that takes care of men and women in uniform, like Fisher House, like the Semper Fi and America's Fund. You should do that because they protect you every single day. Number 4, a school that took care of you. They're always pressed for money, especially this year. John F. Kennedy High School in Warren, Ohio. If you don't have anyone else, go look up Warren JFK online and send them bags of gold. And then finally, an institution that you haven't taken care of that didn't have anything to do with your life, like Hillsdale or Kennedy or someone else. Just be gracious and good to somebody. Joe in Gilroy, California. Good morning, Joe.
Hey, Hugh. Great show.
Thank you,
just
sir.
wanted to emphasize. Hello, can you hear me okay?
I can. You're on the air.
Okay, great. I just want to emphasize to you, and I know you know this, how important it is that Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue be reelected and that we keep control of the Senate. I've called everybody I've known. I'm a graduate of Georgia Tech, and so is David Perdue, so I went to the Tech game, and all kinds of people came up to me and said, Joe, we're really fired up about David and Kelly. So I think we're going to have a massive turnout, and I think we're going to have a big victory, Hugh, and we must do that.
Now, let me ask you, Joe, about early voting. Some people don't like it. I want everyone to vote early because you might have an ice storm, and Atlanta doesn't do well in ice storms on January 5. People need to get their vote in.
December 14th, I'm going to be there at 8:30. The last time I got there, I've done this for many years. We had to wait in line for an hour and a half. So based on that, our county went 81% for Trump. So I'm going to be there Monday morning, December 14th at 8:30. And yeah, I think everybody ought to vote early. I totally agree with that, Hugh.
How many different places do you have in Georgia to vote early?
I believe, now I'm not sure about this, but I would say all of them. I think every place in Georgia you can vote December the 14th, and I'm encouraging everyone to do that.
I can't believe it. Has anyone not made up their mind? I played some more Raphael Warnock. That guy is just a radical.
Oh, you're so right. He's far, far to the left. And David, and the thing I like about David and Kelly, they like President Trump, have a business background, and they understand economics. The other two are far left liberals. I mean, I don't understand how anybody could vote for either Warnock or Ossoff. I just think they're too far to the left, and I think we're going to have a massive win, Hugh. And I think your radio show is great, and I think it's going to contribute to it. And I'm on the ground every day calling everybody I know, and I appreciate all you're doing. And
last question for you, Georgia Joe. That's what we call you now, Georgia Joe. Does everyone in Georgia know what Chuck Schumer said about taking Georgia twice? Does everyone know he intends to make Georgia part of Manhattan?
Well, yes, I think Schumer, we're all scared to death of him and what they will do, stopping the filibuster and giving us, 2 more states. And we'll lose America if they get in. I mean, it's just it's just so important. I mean, that's all I'm doing for the next 5 weeks. The election's 5 weeks from today. And all I'm doing, Hugh, is calling everybody I know and telling them the importance of how important it is to reelect Kelly and David to keep America the way it is. And so we're
well done.
We love your radio show because you get to a lot of people. And Hugh, by the way, how many people listen to your show? A lot of
6 million a week, according to Radio News. 6 million a week, and I've got 13 affiliates in Georgia. So the rest of the country just has to listen to a lot of Georgia for the next 5 weeks, Georgia Joe, because we are not going to let you down.
Well, we appreciate it, Hugh, and I guarantee you, Georgia Joe, as you call me, I'll be doing everything I can to reelect them both. And I'm still not giving up hope on President Trump.
You don't have to do both. You can do both. We're Republicans. We can walk and chew gum. Yeah, Radio Talker magazine says 6 million. I hope it's 60 million for the next 5 weeks. I hope everyone in Georgia is listening and everyone across the United States with a radio in their car stays tuned to the Hugh Hewitt Show and gets involved in Georgia. Thank you, Georgia Joe. I'll be right back. Hour 3 of the Hugh Hewitt Show straight ahead.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
Jennifer in Tustin, California. Hi.
Hi, Dennis. I love the fun on your show. More importantly, the clarity.
Yes. Well, if you like fun and clarity, I'm your man.
Excellent.
I'm your other man. You may be married or have a boyfriend.
Yes.
So I fully.
I am. I have a wonderful man.
Good. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm your other man.
Great.
Right.
I've heard you say. My question is, I've heard you say several times of late on the show that you would not take the COVID vaccine, and I feel the same way myself. But I'm wondering, what will I do if the COVID vaccine is mandatory, in the same way that childhood vaccines are mandatory in many states? Have you thought about that?
I have thought about it. It's a real dilemma.
Okay.
If they don't allow you to go on an airplane without proof of a vaccine, I would have to weigh not being able to travel and give speeches and do my cruises and I cannot live a life without travel. Yes, exactly. It's
right.
See, I want everybody listening who doesn't know, I've taken every vaccine offered, and my kids have taken all of them. I never had any interest in vaccines. I just took them. But I don't trust the medical establishment any longer. They, like the New York Times, they have lost me.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. Supreme Court Judge Samuel Alito recently made a startling point. Religious liberty is in danger of becoming a second-class right. Alito said as much to the Federalist Society.
Just as the COVID restrictions have highlighted the movement toward rule by experts, litigation about those restrictions has pointed up emerging trends in the assessment of individual rights. This is especially evident with respect to religious liberty. It pains me to say this, but in certain quarters, religious liberty is fast becoming a disfavored right.
Alito argued that not only religious liberty, but free speech is imperiled.
Support for freedom of speech is also in danger, and COVID rules have restricted speech in unprecedented ways.
This is a timely and prescient warning. Religious liberty is the very foundation of American freedom, and free speech is part of what makes America great. We cannot sit passively by as our cherished freedoms are whittled away. We must pay attention and take action where we can. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Appreciate it. Chris is in San Antonio, Texas. Chris, you're on The Larry Elder Show.
Oh, wow. What an honor to speak with the great Eldersky. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Chris.
I guess my question is, can you imagine if this goes to the courts and then it goes to Congress and then it goes for President Trump like we all know it should?
Chris, mass suicide. Mass suicide.
This whole cities are going to be burned to the ground.
Their ears would explode. I mean, it would be catastrophic for the left if Donald Trump were awarded the election. You think we feel that the election was fraudulent? What do you think they're going to feel? They're going to go absolutely bonkers. They believe that the Russians not only interfered, but 78% of them believe that the Russians changed the outcome of the election, even though our intelligence committee has never reached that conclusion. So they're going to go absolutely bonkers. Remember what Hillary advised Joe Biden?
So we've got to have a massive legal operation. I know the Biden campaign is working on that. We have to have poll workers, and I urge people who are able to be a poll worker. We have to have our own teams of people to counter the force of intimidation that the Republicans and Trump are going to put outside polling places. This is a big organizational challenge, but at least we know more about what they're going to do. And, you know, Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances.
They would go absolutely ballistic.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Now, I just was reading some other news as I was getting ready for the show today. Johnson & Johnson, which has not been mentioned in the equation. It's all been Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna. Johnson & Johnson, a pharmaceutical giant, is going to seek FDA authorization for their vaccine. And their vaccine is a single-dose COVID-19 vaccine. And it looks like it might be February or sooner. We are likely weeks away from sort of going in an entirely different direction and getting closer to putting this behind us. Remember when Brett Baer used to say we're one day closer to this end of coronavirus? We need it. We need it. I know there's lots of arguing and anger and frustration over the election. There should be. We knew all along, all of us knew that when you're encouraging millions and millions of people to mail in ballots because of COVID, that there was a real strong potential for, I don't know, the 27 toss-up races to all be won by Republicans down ballot, but Trump couldn't quite hold off, couldn't quite pull it off. Yeah, right. Biden got 10 million more votes than Barack Obama did. Yeah, right. Americans are not stupid. We're not blind. And we may be frustrated right now, and we may be stressed, and we may be prepared for whatever comes our way. We're going to persevere.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Dennis Prager Show.
All right, let's begin with Jamie in Freehold, New Jersey. The famous Jamie of Freehold. Hello.
How are you today? Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
So, I'm 46 years old. I just have to say that I discovered you about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's the happiness hour makes my week.
I love that.
I literally look forward to you singing the original lyrics.
I love you for that. No, the original lyrics line. You cracked me up.
The original lyrics.
Yes,
yeah.
every
anyway,
week.
I recently, yes, absolutely. When I miss it, I'm unhappy.
Gotcha.
So I recently started smoking cigars, and I was just curious, very simply, what's your favorite cigar and why?
So I have a number of answers to that, and even though 98% of you don't smoke cigars, you should still be interested in the question because it's philosophic. It's not just cigars, and I'll explain why. So I have two answers. And one is, if I were to ask you, what is your favorite food, would you have an answer?
Morning, glory, America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. Greetings to all of my 400 affiliates. It's Hugh Hewitt inside the Beltway this morning. Everybody knows that President Trump orchestrated a red wave in the Senate, the House, and across the state legislatures of the United States. And most people know Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise were involved. Very few people know that the guy running the machine down in the engine room is a fellow named Tom Emmer from Minnesota. Now, my friends up on AM 1280 The Patriot and on my Duluth affiliate and my Western Minnesota affiliates, they all know who Tom Emmer is. But I want to introduce the rest of the country to the chairman of the National Republican Congressional Committee, who should still have champagne surrounding him because of the night he orchestrated. Congressman Emmer, welcome. Congratulations. What a great November 3rd you had.
Thanks, Hugh. Yeah, great to be with you.
When Tim Pawlenty was governor, he made me the the commissioner of hockey in Minnesota. So you were coaching at that time. I'm not sure my edicts reached to you. Have you given up coaching hockey now?
Given up is not the right word. I still coach through the TV. I've got one daughter and 6 boys, as you might know, Hugh. My daughter is the only one that made it to the NHL as a broadcaster for the Philadelphia Flyers. So my coaching is now vicarious. It goes through my daughter.
Well, you coached a lot of first-term Congress people. I've got Michelle Steele coming up. I've been going through all the new Republican women who've been elected, and I want to know what the secret sauce was. What happened here? I think it's recruiting, but you tell us. How did you get this done?
Well, you win campaigns, Hugh, with great candidates, number one, with the right message, and then with enough resources. We never have their resources. And I joke, but it's somewhat true. They need all the money that they raise because it costs a lot more to sell a lie to the American people. In this cycle, we had the best candidates, I've been told, ever running for the House. A record number of women, record number of minority candidates, record number of veterans that are not done serving this country. We actually won 28 out of the 29 most competitive races. And as of last night, when Mike Garcia, who represents the suburbs of Los Angeles, when his opponent conceded, we have now ensured that no Republican incumbent lost for the first time since 1994. And
wow,
it's pretty impressive, Hugh. The last thing I'll leave you with is I'm really proud of the fact that every one of the seats we flipped so far has been a minority, a veteran, or a female.
Yeah, Mike Garcia was on the show on election morning, so I'm going to, of course, claim credit for his winning. That was a 300-vote race, but it's not like Iowa. Is that a 6-vote race?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that one was certified yesterday. Marinette Miller Meeks has beaten Rita Hart by 6 votes, and we'll see. There's still one last step. Rita Hart and her campaign can file a lawsuit, I think, before the end of the day tomorrow, but it would be futile. She's lost the race.
Tell us about the New York race. First of all, tell me, how many do you think you're going to end up with, Congressman? What's the number of Republicans in the incoming Congress?
Well, with Marinette Miller Meeks, we are going to hit 211, and we are left with one more in New York's 22nd District, upstate New York, where Claudia Tenney is in a rematch with Mr. Brindisi, and she leads him by 12 votes right now. If we get that, it'll be 223 to 212.
So that means Speaker Pelosi can only lose 5 votes. Am I doing the math right? And win
6.
She can lose 6.
Yeah, 218 is the magic number. It'll be the smallest majority, most narrow majority, I think, since the 1870s.
Well, it's going to be very interesting how the leader manages the minority, because there will be places where you're going to be able to put pressure on the few remaining red dog, blue dog Democrats. You've got some Southern Democrats who are reasonable. You've got some suburban Democrats who know they're endangered. Are you already recruiting? By the way, why did you say yes to doing the NRCC a second time? Honest to goodness, Tom Emmer, that is a tough job, and you put your hand up again.
Well, I actually, unlike most people who were telling us we were going to lose anywhere from 15 seats or more, I actually believed we were going to win the majority this time. This Democrat Party that my grandfather actually loved is no longer the Democrat Party that we know. It's the Socialist Party of America, Hugh. They have gone so far to the left that when you say there are moderate Democrats, there's no such thing. With the departure of Colin Peterson, I would argue, in Minnesota, there are no more blue dog, quote-unquote, Democrats left. The fight in that party is now between liberals and socialists, ultra-liberals and socialists, and that's not what Main Street America wants. I thought we should have won the majority this time. I wanted to finish what we started, Hugh.
Oh, that's very good. Now, I think you got the secret sauce in figuring out America likes younger Congress people. They like women, minorities, and they love veterans. Now, Wesley Hunt did not win. I had a lot of hopes for Wesley. I hope he gets back in the ring. I hope redistricting helps us. How do people figure out whether or not they should run? What do you ask them to ask themselves when they come to you and say, I want to run?
Well, actually, when they come to Washington and I sit down with them or I go out to where they are, first thing I ask them is, why in God's name would you want to do this? Because you have to step in, and it is hard. You work your tail off. but most of them, it's being called. The candidates we got this time, I think a lot of that was motivated by this lurch to the far left on the other side of the aisle. People want freedom for their children and for future generations. And, you know, if you're a veteran, that's what you were defending when you were wearing the uniform, so it's just a natural step to jump into the arena on this side. The women out there, they're going to drive the future for the Republican Party.
Now, you also had Win Red up and running for the first time. How much of a difference did that make, Tom Emmer?
It made a huge difference, Hugh, and I'm going to give the credit to President Trump. This president is not only the single greatest small dollar fundraiser in the history of the Republican Party, he's the single greatest small dollar fundraiser in the history of American politics. We did something that was historic when we created Win Red. It was driven by President Trump. It included the RNC, the NRCC, which is the House Republicans, and the NRSC. So it was a team effort. And I'll tell you, it was rolled out a little bit more than a year ago, August of 2019, and it raised $1 billion. Hugh, it's unheard of. So we've got a long way to go to catch up yet to Act Blue, but we made a great strides in this last cycle.
Win Red consolidates all the giving and sends it to the targeted races and does it with professional accuracy. So, Tom Emmer, looking at redistricting, how much of a role does the NRCC play in advising the state legislatures or the independent commissions or anyone involved in the redistricting process, or do you wait for the lines to settle and then go and recruit?
Well, you know, after my years of coaching, Hugh, you don't wait. You don't play the blue line. You got to be attacking all the time. On this one, though, our elections are supposed to be a state-based operation. We will work with our delegations who will work with their state legislatures to make sure that the redistricting process is done in a fair, open, and transparent manner. And that it reflects, quite frankly, the demographics of the state and the districts that are being drawn. And so we will be involved in an advisory capacity, and we'll be paying very close attention.
Do you have the technical team in place? People don't understand. Redistricting is math. And I teach the redistricting cases every year that I teach con law. You know, you can't use race. That's off limits. But the courts abandoned coming up with any other test. So it's really just math and expertise. And the Democrats have been doing it forever, and the Republicans have been doing it forever. And I don't like to hide that fact. If you look at Massachusetts, which is 30% Republican, there aren't any Republican congressmen for a reason. They're really good at redistricting. Do you have the expertise you need?
Yeah, well, so let's be open about the fact that former President Obama and his former Attorney General Eric Holder have been really working this hard for the last 4 or 5 years. We do have the Republican Redistricting Trust that we set up on our side of the aisle a couple of years back because we need to match that. They're out there telling people effectively that redistricting is done from a federal level. It's not. It's done from the state level. Hugh, you are absolutely right. It is simply math. And we have to make sure that people understand that their state needs to reflect their actual population, not what the Democrats want it to reflect. And I think it's really important that we be involved in that process. And
do you expect Republican-leaning states to pick up seats this time? I saw what Redistrict said. There will be at least 180 and 538. There will be at least 180 seats, the lines for which are drawn by Republicans only. But I still wonder where the new seats going. Are you confident they're going to Republican states?
I am, actually. If you look, states like the one that I live in, Minnesota, states like Illinois, states like New York, where these failed Democrat policies continue to make it more difficult to live and prosper, people are leaving. Those are the states that are losing or face the prospect of losing seats. And guess where they're going? They're going where Republican policies have been in place and people are able to live and prosper.
That
Florida,
is great news.
Texas,
that is great news.
So I do think it's going to make a difference.
Congressman Tom Emmer, congratulations. Follow him on Twitter. Support the NRCC. Go to Win Red. And thank you, Congressman. Come back. Keep us posted. I'll be right back on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. Supreme Court Judge Samuel Alito recently made a startling point. Religious liberty is in danger of becoming a second-class right. Alito said as much to the Federalist Society.
Just as the COVID restrictions have highlighted the movement toward rule by experts, litigation about those restrictions has pointed up emerging trends in the assessment of individual rights. This is especially evident with respect to religious liberty. It pains me to say this, but in certain quarters, religious liberty is fast becoming a disfavored right.
Alito argued that not only religious liberty, but free speech is imperiled.
Support for freedom of speech is also in danger, and COVID rules have restricted speech in unprecedented ways.
This is a timely and prescient warning. Religious liberty is the very foundation of American freedom, and free speech is part of what makes America great. We cannot sit passively by as our cherished freedoms are whittled away. We must pay attention and take action where we can. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Restrictions starting today. Gyms, movie theaters, churches can no longer meet indoors. As a result of the emergency orders, 41 of California's 58 counties are now in what's called purple tier status, and that is Newsom's strictest category. He's also considering instituting a statewide curfew. Meanwhile, the governor attended a dinner party at an upscale French restaurant and had more than the 10 people that he is saying that you can only have when you are in some sort of social gathering. And he's put out a statement saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it. We're all gonna do better."
And as soon as I sat down at the larger table, I realized it was a little larger group than I had anticipated.
And he started counting them: 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe he didn't realize that he had exceeded the number. First, he sends his children to in-person private school while attacking school choice and keeping public schools closed throughout California. Now he attends a private gathering while telling Californians to do otherwise.
Got to own that. And so I want to apologize to you because I need to preach and practice, not just preach.
Sacramento Bee editorial board, quote, "If Newsom can't get his head into the game, perhaps he should make the governor thing a one-term affair and leave the job open for someone with a desire to lead," end of quote. You know, he told you not to have a gathering of more than 10 people. He exceeded that, but spiritually he didn't exceed it. He may have exceeded it physically.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Today's a big day. Today is the day that Pfizer will be formally requesting emergency use authorization for their vaccine against coronavirus. The president initiated and the administration implemented Operation Warp Speed, which is leading to the reveal that within weeks, it appears, millions and millions of Americans will start getting the vaccination against COVID-19. Of course, it's coming at a time that is urgently needed. In the vice president's words yesterday, coronavirus is surging through the nation. The U.S. death toll that has been attributed to coronavirus is over 252,000 Americans. 2,000 reported yesterday. Hospitalizations, according to the mainstream media, and I always know we have to look at that with a little bit of awareness.
Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. Browns signed a free agent safety yesterday, so I got an early Christmas present. I'm hoping they can, the Indians will re-sign Francisco Lindor. I think I'm going to get Cole there. But if they got to trade him, go get Clint Frazier. Bring him back to the Indians if you're listening in Cleveland. You know, my friend Bob Franz over at WHK 1420 in Cleveland, who's on before me, I hope he's watching. We had a debate in Cleveland before a live audience where I told him he was a big Sam Darnold fan. I said, we do not want to draft young Mr. Darnold. Nice man, just not going to play to the NFL level. We got to go get Baker. And Bob was just all over Sam Darnold, and I am so glad that they listened to me in those years. But Bob, we still love you, even though you're a Steelers fan. Listen to him in Cleveland right after the show. Chuck Schumer. By the way, Columbus, on Thursday, I'm interviewing, I taped it yesterday, Arnold. And we talk about the Arnold Sports Festival in Columbus. So make sure on Thursday you listen to the show. I'm going to play some excerpts of it, and then the entire interview is going to play at the Nixon Foundation website later in the day. Governor Schwarzenegger here to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the founding of the EPA by President Nixon, which happens on Thursday. And we talked about a lot of different things, including Columbus. So to my friends at 98.9, we've got your back trying to get the sports festival up and going. Axios reporting this morning that Chuck Schumer told party donors that the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the fact that Cal Cunningham, quote, couldn't keep his zipper up, crushed Democrats' chance of regaining the Senate. He deeply regrets not recruiting Stacey Abrams in Georgia. He stuck with Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, both of whom are to the left of left. And I mean, every day is another radical statement by both of them. They're the worst two Senate candidates that the Democrats fielded, and their hopes of getting the Senate majority hang on both of them winning. And I don't think either of them are going to come close. They didn't come close in the general. But the media is polling for him again. We don't get any polling because polling's broken. They use polling to disguise the frailty of the Democratic Party going into the last election. President Trump ought to be more upset about the Wisconsin polling that showed he was 17 points down there than anything else. It was a dead heat in Wisconsin. And they used suppression tactics, suppression polling, I call it, all over the country. There was suppression polling going on by legacy media groups. And suppression polling lowers fundraising, lowers turnout, lowers enthusiasm, lowers energy. It just did. No arguing it. Like not arguing about Andrew and Todd. They are the best if you're going to refinance your home. Andrew and Todd, sponsors of this program with Sierra Pacific. Go to andrewandtodd.com. 2Ds and Todd, you Steelers fans. Browns are going to break up that Steelers perfect season. It's going to be very joyful Christmas season because of what the Browns are going to do to the Steelers. andrewandtodd.com. In fact, the Ravens will probably do it to the Steelers tonight, but I'm rooting for the Steelers tonight. I want the Ravens crushed. I really do. 888-1172 connects you with Andrew. He will not crush your hopes. Connects you with Todd. He will not crush your hopes. They will help you refinance your house, get money out at ridiculously low rates, or they will help your son or daughter. You can become a non-occupying co-borrower. Just call them, tell them what your need is, or go online, answer a couple of questions. The market yesterday was all red, and overseas this morning it's all a lot of green. Germany is up almost 1 point. England is up 2 points, and it's going to be a great day on the markets as Cyber Monday was great. Don't forget Giving Tuesday. Now, I want you to be generous to many different groups, but Angel Tree is at my website. Angel Tree takes care of the 2.7, not all, hundreds of thousands of the 2.7 million children who have one or both parents in jail. And the phone number, if you're old school and you don't want to go online at HughHewitt.com, the banner's at the very top. That's what I recommend you do. This Giving Tuesday, you can call 888-206-2764. 888-206-2764. You know, tell them Hugh Hewitt sent you. Tell them you want to do a Giving Tuesday call or go online at HughHewitt.com. I got it started late last night. I tweeted out the Angel Tree link, and it's over at the top, the very top of HughHewitt.com. But some people just like the phone. And if you're in the car and you've got automatic dialing, 888-206-2764. Be as generous as you can. Bring some Christmas joy to kids they need a good start. They need help. They need you and Angel Tree. And so please be generous and come right back. I'm going to be joined by Representative-elect Michelle Steele from the homeland, the OC. Supervisor Steele, now Congresswoman-elect Steele, is next on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Portions of the Hugh Hewitt Show brought to you by Sierra Pacific Mortgage. For more info, call 888-888-1172.
Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Appreciate it. Chris is in San Antonio, Texas. Chris, you're on The Larry Elder Show.
Oh, wow. What an honor to speak with the great Eldersky. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Chris.
I guess my question is, can you imagine if this goes to the courts and then it goes to Congress and then it goes for President Trump like we all know it should?
Chris, mass suicide. Mass suicide.
This whole cities are going to be burned to the ground.
Their ears would explode. I mean, it would be catastrophic for the left if Donald Trump were awarded the election. You think we feel that the election was fraudulent? What do you think they're going to feel? They're going to go absolutely bonkers. They believe that the Russians not only interfered, but 78% of them believe that the Russians changed the outcome of the election, even though our intelligence committee has never reached that conclusion. So they're going to go absolutely bonkers. Remember what Hillary advised Joe Biden?
So we've got to have a massive legal operation. I know the Biden campaign is working on that. We have to have poll workers, and I urge people who are able to be a poll worker. We have to have our own teams of people to counter the force of intimidation that the Republicans and Trump are going to put outside polling places. This is a big organizational challenge, but at least we know more about what they're going to do. And, you know, Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances.
They would go absolutely ballistic.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Now, I just was reading some other news as I was getting ready for the show today. Johnson & Johnson, which has not been mentioned in the equation. It's all been Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna. Johnson & Johnson, a pharmaceutical giant, is going to seek FDA authorization for their vaccine. And their vaccine is a single-dose COVID-19 vaccine. And it looks like it might be February or sooner. We are likely weeks away from sort of going in an entirely different direction and getting closer to putting this behind us. Remember when Brett Baer used to say we're one day closer to this end of coronavirus? We need it. We need it. I know there's lots of arguing and anger and frustration over the election. There should be. We knew all along, all of us knew that when you're encouraging millions and millions of people to mail in ballots because of COVID, that there was a real strong potential for, I don't know, the 27 toss-up races to all be won by Republicans down ballot, but Trump couldn't quite pull it off. Yeah, right. Biden got 10 million more votes than Barack Obama did. Yeah, right. Americans are not stupid. We're not blind. And we may be frustrated right now, and we may be stressed, and we may be prepared for whatever comes our way. We're going to persevere.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Dennis Prager Show.
All right, let's begin with Jamie in Freehold, New Jersey. The famous Jamie of Freehold. Hello.
How are you today? Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
So, I'm 46 years old. I just have to say that I discovered you about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's the happiness hour makes my week.
I love that.
I literally look and I look forward to you singing the original lyrics.
I love you for that. No, the original lyrics line. You cracked me up.
The original lyrics.
Yes,
yeah.
every
anyway,
week.
I recently, yes, absolutely. When I miss it, I'm unhappy.
Gotcha.
So I recently started smoking cigars, and I was just curious, very simply, what's your favorite cigar and why?
So I have a number of answers to that, and even though 98% of you don't smoke cigars, you should still be interested in the question because it's philosophic. It's not just cigars, and I'll explain why. So I have two answers, and one is, if I were to ask you what is your favorite food, would you have an answer?
Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt Inside the Beltway. This is a special segment because I get to a lot of interviews with friends on this, but very rarely do I have a friend who's also a former colleague. Orange County Supervisor Michelle Steele and I sat on the Orange County Children and Families Commission for a few years together. I saw what a brilliant and smart administrator she is. She is giving up the best job in the world, being a California supervisor, to come to Congress. She is Michelle Steele, now Congresswoman-elect from Orange County, and she joins me this morning. Good morning, Congresswoman-elect, although I'm always going to call you Supervisor Steele. It's going to be hard to break that habit. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Hewitt. Thank you very much for inviting me today. This is just a wonderful day, another orientation, and it's just really fun.
Well, you know, I am so glad you won. It was a tough race. The Democrats threw everything at you. I mean, they really did not want you to get a toehold in Congress because you represent a couple of demographics, women and Asian Americans, Korean Americans, people of opportunity, immigrants. I mean, Michelle, you're very different from the rest of the caucus. How is it going?
Well, somebody who has an accent and somebody who is a first-generation immigrant and, you know, somebody who achieved the American dream. And I'm a product of American dream. That was the toughest campaign ever because, you know what, this is my 5th election as a first generation. I'm so grateful I didn't lose any of those elections. But this one, I was so in dark because I didn't even know I'm going to win. I didn't know I'm going to lose. I mean, there's just no way. You had to just fight every day. You do just work, just your best. And then outcome came out really good results. So I'm very, very happy about that.
And at the same time, you kept up being a great supervisor. Now, I tell people you have the greatest job in the world. I may come back and run for your open seat, move to the district, because I think county supervisors in California have more authority over their district than any other elected official. And you kept doing your day job even as you were running. And I mean, this is, with the virus and everything else, this was a heck of a time to both be a supervisor and a candidate.
Here, please do it because you're going to be a perfect, great supervisor. It was just interesting because I took a chairmanship in January. I didn't know the pandemic is coming. So I was just praying God that give me 48 hours, please, because I don't have enough time to work full time and, you know, campaigning full time. So it was very tough, but we went through it. We are the one actually declared the state of emergency 1 week before state did. And Orange County numbers were really good. And we opened businesses end of May, and Governor retaliated, but he closed down only Orange County beaches. You remember that?
Yes.
And you know, it was a tough fight because all the businesses been closed down for last 8 months now, and people cannot put food on the table. So we try to do whatever we can. And LA County just shut down inside and outside of the restaurant. I mean, you know, how can these people can survive? In even Orange County, I heard 23% of the businesses cannot come back, maybe more as of now. And it's really sad that how our governor is running. But when you run for supervisor in Orange County, you're going to do a great job.
Well, you know, I'm smiling as I say that, Supervisor, because I think it's actually it's so hard. People don't know how hard it is. You're working all the time, and the district is very demanding. Let's turn to your new job. Kevin McCarthy, I just had Tom Emmer on. They came and they recruited you hard, and not just because you won supervisor, but State Board of Equalization. They know your work ethic. They know Sean, your husband, loves the party. You had great party support. But what do you hope to do in the House? People need to know your story, and they need to know what your ambitions are.
You know what? I just want to deliver. I want to work for Orange County, such as that lower taxes. When Trump administration came in and they lowered the taxes, but they really hit hard for middle income or, high income or, like a small businesses in California, because they capped it for income tax deductions from the federal income tax for up to $10,000. It used to be that you can deduct everything.
Yes.
So state and local taxes is the most important part. And then, let's regulations for the, all the businesses. You really help them to prosper. Then you can get actually more taxes that way, not, like give them more regulations and just really shut down, like California, what they are doing. I want to do the work done instead of partisan fight.
Do you have any idea which committees yet you'll be on, Representative-elect Michelle Steele?
I have my hope really high. I want to go into Ways and Means, but as a freshman, you cannot go because since I came from the tax agency, and I know how to count. But, as a freshman, you cannot really go that one. So, what, I've been talking to leadership and Kevin McCarthy, Tom Emmer, this was a teamwork. That's the reason that I won. Everybody helped.
Congresswoman-elect, rules are made to be broken. And if we want more first-generation Republican candidates, they ought to think about putting you on one of the big three. And you did do the State Board of Equalization. Let's speak California for people. That is the taxing agency in California. And you would be perfect for Ways and Means. So Tom Emmer is listening. He was just on, and Kevin listens both morning. That's a rule that could be broken. I think that would be a terrific thing. Are you going to be part of the effort to recruit other first-generation Americans into running on behalf of the party?
Yes, I am doing it, but at the same time, we have a Georgia Senate campaign. So I'm actually going to Georgia on 17th through 19th to promote and mobilize Korean American communities. So you know what? I have a lot of hats that I have to wear, raising money and go out there, promote more, Asian Americans. They're always under the radar, and I have to bring them out. And I want to bring second, third generations, and they have to run, and they have to just come out and speak out. So that's my job.
Supervisor Steele, now Congresswoman-elect Steele, I just read yesterday Democrats are targeting the Asian American community in Georgia, so I can't tell you how important that is. I'm glad they reached out to you. It's apparently 2 to 3% of the electorate are Asian American in Georgia, which I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. You know what? It's very important. There are really big Korean American populations there, so I think it's going to be really helpful that when I get there, that I just got elected, but we really have to do the right thing. So I'm going to just relay the right message.
Now, you are also a prolific fundraiser. I've seen you raise money. You're good at it. And that, by the way, that's key to this. The district you represent should be a net a black district in terms of the money coming into the coffers of the Republican Party. Did you get outspent anyway? Because I know Harley Ruda said he's going to run against you. The Democrats will control redistricting. You can't stop raising money, right?
Oh, I had to raise money because Pelosi and Democratic Party, they put $14 million against me. And my opponent raised $5 million. I raised $5.7 million, and Republican Party and Kevin McCarthy and Tom Emmer gave me $3 million. So we were fighting 8.7 versus $19 million. So you know what? It was just not just money, but I walked, door knocking with my volunteers and interns. We did more than 110,000 houses. That really worked. Your hard work always paid off.
I remember I did a speech for the Republican women of Orange County before I came back to D.C., and you were there. You were working the room. There are many volunteers. The party that Tom Fuentes and Lois Lundberg built is still, it's one of the rare places in the country where the party organization has stayed strong decade after decade.
They are the backbone of the Republican Party. They are amazing. Everybody worked. Not only that, not just those, Women Federation and other people, but we had college volunteers, more than, few hundred. Actually, they walked every day. I couldn't walk every day because I had, I had a full-time job. So I've been walking just only the weekends. But they walked and they knocked the door with me. I mean, you know what? I'm so grateful. There's so many younger generations, and they came out that I've never seen them in 2018. So I was surprised, but I was very, very happy about that. So we have younger generations. They volunteered a lot, too.
Last question, Congresswoman-elect Michelle Steele. Yours is an ocean district. You were supervisor of an ocean district. You have an ocean district. I'm talking to Arnold on Thursday because Republicans can be environmentalists. You always have been an environmentalist, and I hope you carry that flag you're a conservationist, you're a clean oceans person. I hope you carry that flag for the Republicans in the caucus as well.
Oh, definitely, because we have to save ocean, and then, you know what, but you cannot ruin the businesses. There's new technology coming in, and you can utilize those, and you can really save the environment.
100%. Congresswoman-elect Michelle Steele, enjoy your second week of orientation. You tell Kevin that there are the leader. There are rules meant to be broken, and you've broken so many rules by rising so fast as a first-generation American. I hope they break this one for you. Congresswoman-elect Michelle Steele, thank you. Have a great, great orientation.
Thank you very much, Hugh.
She's terrific. Mary, I worked with her for 2 years. I did 17 years on the Orange County Children and Families Commission before I moved back to D.C. when Bill Bennett retired. And that's a monthly meeting. I went through like a dozen supervisors, and they were great. Bill Campbell and Lou and all of them, they were just great. But I really loved working with Michelle Steele. She got it. The Orange County Children and Families Commission is actually a product of Rob Reiner. Yeah, Meathead. The director had one great idea. He's a good guy. I know he gets a little extreme on Twitter, but he's a good guy, and he decided we needed a cigarette tax, and then he did something that was new. He gave 80% of the revenue to the counties to have them spend it through agencies that were established by people who didn't get paid, including me. We weren't doing time in service. We weren't getting retirement credits. They were giving us $100 a meeting. And I know that sounds a lot, but I lost a lot of money on every meeting, as did every one of my other fellow commissioners. Kim Kripe, who ran Orange County Children's Hospital, and Dr. Mignon, who was the chief of medicine there. I loved the Children and Families Commission because they spent money on children and family who needed it in Orange County. They did amazing things. They continue to do amazing things. And when I served with Michelle Steele, I served with a superstar. I'm just happy for Orange County that I'm not sure who's going to be their supervisor. Maybe I'd have to move to her district. I live in the other district. I live in the 3rd district. But, I could do that. I could run the radio show in the morning and then go to work and be a supervisor during the day and run the Nixon Library at night. That's possible. You never should have less than 3 jobs. Dwayne has never believed in having any jobs, but so I have to make up for him, right? That's the deal. If you're going to have someone on the staff that doesn't do any work, you got to do at least twice or 3 times the amount of work. I want to remind you, I'm able to do this work because of ReliefFactor.com. There it is. I take it every day. I remind you about it 2 more times. Great sponsor of the show for many, many years now. It's a Christmas present worth giving to people. Go to ReliefFactor.com and sign up your brother-in-law who's always complaining about their back. Give it to your mom or dad who's always complaining about their knees or their ankles and say, look, I'm with you, but you got to do the first step, which is take the supplements that help support the temporary relief of minor aches and pains. Get off of the over-the-counter. Don't stop taking anything your doctor says to take. Never. But do try the only supplement I take, ReliefFactor.com. I carry in curcumin, resveratrol, and omega, the 4 natural supplements doctors recommend widely, consistently, and this is the best product made in the most beautifully designed and easy to use packaging, ReliefFactor.com. Coming back with Senator Tom Cotton. Don't go anywhere, America. May have to listen to some Arkansas propaganda here. It's the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Portions of the Hugh Hewitt Show are brought to you in part by Prison Fellowship. Click on the Angel Tree banner at the top of hughhewitt.com.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. Supreme Court Judge Samuel Alito recently made a startling point. Religious liberty is in danger of becoming a second-class right. Alito said as much to the Federalist Society.
Just as the COVID restrictions have highlighted the movement toward rule by experts, litigation about those restrictions has pointed up emerging trends in the assessment of individual rights. This is especially evident with respect to religious liberty. It pains me to say this, but in certain quarters, religious liberty is fast becoming a disfavored right.
Alito argued that not only religious liberty, but free speech is imperiled.
Support for freedom of speech is also in danger, and COVID rules have restricted speech in unprecedented ways.
This is a timely and prescient warning. Religious liberty is the very foundation of American freedom, and free speech is part of what makes America great. We cannot sit passively by as our cherished freedoms are whittled away. We must pay attention and take action where we can. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Restrictions starting today. Gyms, movie theaters, churches can no longer meet indoors. As a result of the emergency orders, 41 of California's 58 counties are now in what's called purple tier status, and that is Newsom's strictest category. He's also considering instituting a statewide curfew. Meanwhile, the governor attended a dinner party at an upscale French restaurant and had more than the 10 people that he is saying that you can only have when you are in some sort of social gathering. And he's put out a statement saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it. We're all gonna do better."
And as soon as I sat down at the larger table, I realized it was a little larger group than I had anticipated.
And he started counting them: 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe he didn't realize that he had exceeded the number. First, he sends his children to in-person private school while attacking school choice and keeping public schools closed throughout California. Now he attends a private gathering while telling Californians to do otherwise.
Got to own that. And so I want to apologize to you because I need to preach and practice, not just preach.
Sacramento Bee editorial board, quote, "If Newsom can't get his head into the game, perhaps he should make the governor thing a one-term affair and leave the job open for someone with a desire to lead," end of quote. You know, he told you not to have a gathering of more than 10 people. He exceeded that, but spiritually he didn't exceed it. He may have exceeded it physically.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Today's a big day. Today is the day that Pfizer will be
Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt, joined by United States Senator Tom Cotton. For a brief moment, I was panicked that for the first time in the 20 years of the Hugh Hewitt Show, an Arkansas senator would have bragging rights over the Ohio State senators when it came to college football. But the world is right again. Ohio State is undefeated. The Arkansas Razorbacks are 3-5. Good morning, Senator. Welcome.
Good morning, Hugh. It's good to be on with you. Glad to hear the Christmas bump music back. On the bright side, 3 wins is pretty good for Arkansas in recent years, so we're pretty excited about the direction of the program.
And then you got Alabama. You got to break through Alabama. So, yes, it's a good start. Senator Cotton.
That's true for everyone.
You've got 4 weeks to get a lot of work done. The lame duck goes until January 3rd. What is the priority in your mind, for the Senate to get done?
We have a lifetime appointments left that we want to fill. We want to confirm the nominee to replace Judge Barrett, now Justice Barrett, on the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. There's an opening up in the Northeast in the First Circuit Court of Appeals. You may have seen the news, Hugh, that just yesterday, Judge Flom on the Seventh Circuit, who had been the senior serving circuit judge in the entire country, I think Ronald Reagan appointed him in 1983, took senior status. So I opined to Mitch McConnell that if anyone can get a circuit judge confirmed in 1 month, it's the apex predator of the United States Senate.
You know, I agree. And there is Kate Todd sitting over in the White House counsel's office who would be eligible for that. They've got the work ready to go. That can be done, and it should be done. You know what Barack Obama said? If you can win, you should.
Yeah, and so we have those lifetime judges on the courts of appeals. There's a lot of judges left on the district courts, to include some judges out in California, your home state. Obviously, we'll need cooperation from the Democrats. If these judges have been nominated from a state like, say, California or New York that have 2 Democratic senators, they obviously have the approval of the 2 Democratic senators, since each senator still has a veto over home state trial judges. And we hope that in the end, the Democrats will be overcome with the Christmas spirit and agree to confirm all the judges in their own state that they have approved.
I'm curious, Senator, about that. Will Kamala Harris, as the senator, president of the Senate, as her vice presidential role, does she get a blue slip, or is she got an incentive to move people like Rick Richmond right now when she could get one of hers for one of ours?
Every senator gets a blue slip. So, in a year or two, if Joe Biden's the president and we have an opening in Arkansas, John Bozeman and I will have a veto. We can't dictate who that choice may be, but we can block any of those choices. That's longstanding Senate custom. That blue slip is literally a blue slip that a senator returns at the outset of the process. So for Rick to have moved on, or any judge to have moved on through the Judiciary Committee, get through the committee, be pending on the floor, that means the blue slip step has already been overcome. But it still takes, again, cooperation from the Democrats. We're not going to prioritize judges from states like New York. If Democrats are objecting, we can confirm judges from states with 2 Republican senators or 1 Republican senator and a Democratic senator. There are also, however, some other important appointments as well. You take Liam Hardy on the Armed Forces Court of Appeals. That's a 15-year appointment. Yep. We've got appointments to independent boards and commissions, like one of my longtime aides, Cal Houtman, going to the Credit Union Administration.
Yes.
Or Brian Brooks going to the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, or John Barger going to the Federal Thrift Savings Board. All these are tenured appointments that would last past January 20th and play important roles in pushing back against regulatory overreach by the Biden administration, or helping to counteract China. In some of these roles, we have very important efforts to do that. And then finally, of course, there's legislation. We want to pass the defense bill for the 60th straight year. We'd like to pass a full-year spending bill so we can prioritize the important programs that we all care about, like long-term weapons programs in the Department of Defense. And I'd personally like to see another coronavirus relief package, one that is certainly smaller than the CARES Act was in March, but tailored and targeted towards those who need it most, whether they're in the airline industry, the restaurant industry, money to help schools stay open, as the case is in Arkansas, reopen in other states. The Democrats are going to have to relent, though, on their desire for $3.5 trillion of unrelated measures that just come from their liberal wish list. But that's kind of an overview of what's going to happen here over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Let me ask you before we run out of time, do you have an opinion on Secretary of Defense? There appears to be controversy within the team Biden as to who it ought to be. I thought it was going to be Michelle Flournoy, and I'm actually kind of okay with that given her background. What do you think as someone who served in the uniform and who is on armed services?
Hugh, I'll let Joe Biden choose who he wants to be as next Secretary of Defense, and I'll evaluate that person on the merit. I will say that I read a very troubling insider account, though, of why a Secretary of Defense nominee was not rolled out last week with the rest of his national security team. They said it was designed to send the message that we are going to deprioritize military power as an instrument of American power. Nothing can be more foolish. The very notion of peace through strength depends on having a strong military, and everyone, allies and enemies alike, knowing that our military is second to none and will be deployed to protect our national interests, which makes it less likely you ever have to deploy the military in the first place.
Yeah, diplomatic power does not work without military power. I find that troubling, too. I haven't read that. I'm glad you told us about it. Senator Cotton, keep coming back, and good luck in getting a lot done in the last 4 weeks of the 116th. And talk to us in the 117th. Hey, America, thank you, Ben. Thank you, Harley. Thank you, Adam. And thank you, Generalissimo. We'll be back tomorrow on the next Hugh Hewitt Show.